Chapter 495. Because of Elder Su. Su Hui could be said to have grown up in the Shanghai Medical College. Zhang Xiaoyan knew her very well, and knew that she wouldn't lie. Su Hui did as she thought. She told Qin Haodong about how Yan Feiyu had criticized Ji Fubao and insulted him during the military training. Then, she told Qin Haodong the reason why Yan Feiyu was not suitable to be an instructor. Teacher, that's it. Zhang Xiaoyan frowned slightly after hearing that. They were from a medical college and the Chinese medicine department. There were no requirements for the student's body shape and weight. It was really too much for Yan Feiyu to make an issue of Ji Fubao's body shape. As a tutor of the Chinese medicine class, she didn't want others to compare her students to pigs. Moreover, she felt that Qin Haodong's 3 points were reasonable. From the bottom of her heart, she had already stood on Qin Haodong's side. However, she was just a teacher and had no right to deal with the instructor. So she turned to look at Ho Wenbin and Duan Balian, the battalion commander next to him. Ho Wenbin also heard it clearly. The responsibility of this matter lay with the instructor, Yan Feiyu. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but he still didn't say anything. It was best for Duan Balian to deal with this matter. Duan Balian took 2 steps forward and glared at Yan Feiyu fiercely. What did I tell you before we came? This is a student, not a real soldier. I want you to teach according to the person's aptitude. Have you forgotten? Go back and write a 2,000-word review for me. Yes. Yan Feiyu immediately gave a military salute. After reprimanding Yan Feiyu, Duan Balian turned to look at Qin Haodong. Young man, you're not bad. I have already punished Yan Feiyu. I believe he will pay attention to his words in the future. But forget about changing the instructor. In terms of level, Yan Feiyu is still a very good instructor. He will definitely lead you to good results. In the eyes of others, Duan Balian's way of handling the matter was reasonable. But in Qin Haodong's eyes, it was completely different. It was obvious that Duan Balian was protecting his students. Yan Feiyu had insulted Ji Fubao. As his superior, the only way to deal with him was to criticize him. He didn't even apologize. Moreover, he didn't agree to change the instructor's request. Wasn't he protecting his students? Moreover, judging from Yan Feiyu's performance, this guy was not a magnanimous person at all. He would definitely punish Ji Fubao even more severely. Seeing his expression, Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly said, Qin Haodong, since Commander Duan has criticized the drill master, let's forget about it. Train hard. She also understood Duan Balian's approach very well. If an instructor was replaced by a student during the military training, it would not look good for the special forces of the Shanghai military region. In her opinion, as a student, Qin Haodong had already gained enough to Yan Feiyu. As he had Haodong's Wu Yu's Wan. Qin, I had to change the Tian. That Yang was Yang Haodong he Yang, that was he had you should be accept to change. Qi. That you Shuerluan. The Yang has Yang should Yang. Up and up. Xiao Yang Yang. The headmaster had already spoken, but Qin Haodong didn't back down. He continued, Headmaster Ho, I insist on my opinion. This person is not suitable to be the instructor of our Chinese medicine class. Fang Xiaoping and the others sneered secretly. They thought that this guy was really stupid. He even dared to contradict the headmaster. Now he would definitely suffer the headmaster's wrath. However, things were beyond their expectations. Ho Wenbin didn't show any anger, nor did he continue to speak. He wanted Duan Balian to deal with this matter. Duan Balian frowned. Of course, he didn't want to change the instructor. This was related to the face of the Shanghai Special Forces. Student, although Yan Feiyu's approach is a bit wrong, it's not enough to change the instructor, so I can't agree to your request. Everyone's eyes were focused on Qin Haodong's face. Ji Fubao also kept winking at him, meaning that he should stop while he was ahead and forget about it. Qin Haodong ignored Ji Fubao's look and said to Duan Balian, Commander Duan, how can I meet the requirements to change the instructor? Duan Balian's face instantly became ugly. This student really didn't know when to stop. He said coldly, according to the rules of our army, there is only one condition to change the instructor. That is, you have to be stronger than the instructor. Otherwise, there is no reason to change the instructor. This matter was originally his people's fault. He couldn't deal with this stubborn student, so he wanted to use this harsh condition to scare the young man in front of him. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong said without hesitation. In this case, Qin Haodong, a student of the Chinese medicine practitioner class, requests to challenge instructor Yan Feiyu. His decision was also greatly beyond the expectations of Ho Wenbin and Zhang Xiaoyan. Zhang Xiaoyan quickly stepped forward and said, Qin Haodong, don't be impulsive. Qin Haodong smiled and said, Teacher, I'm not impulsive. I think I'm really much stronger than that guy. Yan Feiyu's expression changed. Although he was a little harsh, his military quality was not exaggerated. He was also one of the best among all the instructors who came today. Now this student not only picked on his problems one after another, but also proposed to challenge him, which made him very angry. Duan Bailian looked at him and said in a deep voice, Young man, you have to think about it. Our challenge is not a math, physics, and chemistry exam. It's a real military project. Qin Haodong said indifferently, No problem. Anything is fine. Duan Bailian's face became more and more ugly. In his opinion, the person in front of him didn't know when to stop. In our army, there are conditions to challenge the instructor. If you win, you will be replaced. If you lose, you will be expelled from the army. Qin Haodong said, No problem. If I fail, please expel me from the school, Principal Ho. As soon as he said this, the expressions of the people around him changed. Ji Fubao said, Boss, this is absolutely impossible. He smiled and said, There's nothing impossible about it. No one can insult my brother without paying the price. Zhang Xiaoyan said eagerly, Qin Haodong, are you crazy? It's not easy for your parents to support you to go to college. How can you casually use it as a bet? Qin Haodong said confidently, Don't worry, teacher. I can't lose. Although he was very confident, the students around him were not optimistic. No one thought that he could be better than Yan Feiyu in terms of military quality. The 4 people in the 510 dormitory had gloating sneers on their faces. They were waiting to see this self-righteous guy be expelled from the medical college. Duan Bailian became more and more angry. Since this guy didn't know what was good for him, he would teach him a lesson. He turned to Ho Wenbin and said, Principal Ho, what do you think? This, Ho Wenbin looked embarrassed. He didn't know how to make a decision for a while. He was also not optimistic about Qin Haodong. How could a student who had just entered the school compare with the instructor of the Shanghai Special Forces in terms of military quality? He would definitely lose this competition. If he lost, should he expel him from the school? He was the boyfriend of the Zhou family's eldest daughter. He couldn't afford to offend him. If he didn't expel him, it would definitely cause Duan Bailian's dissatisfaction. It would also affect the relationship between the school and the Shanghai military region. Qin Haodong seemed to know what he was thinking. He said, Principal Ho, please approve it. I will bear all the consequences. Okay then. Seeing Qin Haodong's firm attitude, Ho Wenbin could only nod and agree. However, he had already begun to make other plans in his heart. He was thinking about how he could save his student status. The principal had already approved it. Qin Haodong turned to Duan Bailian and said, You can start now. What do you want to compete in? How do you want to compete? Duan Bailian turned to Yan Feiyu and said, This student wants to challenge you. Do you dare to accept it? Yan Feiyu took a step forward and shouted, Commander, I accept the challenge. He was now full of anger. He swore that he would teach this arrogant student a lesson and send him out of the Shanghai Medical College. Duan Bailian said, Well, the challenge officially begins. The competition will be best of 3. The first round will be military posture, the second round will be physical push-ups, and the third round will be fighting skills. For these 3 events, Duan Bailian had also racked his brains. He brought out military skills, physical fitness, and grappling. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want his soldiers to lose the challenge of a student. That would make the Shanghai Military Region's Special Forces lose face. After the challenge was determined, both sides had no objections, so the challenge officially began. The commotion here was too big, and it had already attracted the attention of the other training groups. A student challenging an instructor was something they had never heard of before. If it weren't for their respective instructors restraining them, they would have come over to watch the show. Even so, they still took the initiative to look over. The competition was carried out on the spot. The first event was standing in military posture. In order to show fairness, the judges were Duan Bailian, Zhang Xiaoyan and Ho Wenbin. Duan Bailian said to the two of them, "Now the competition begins. Which one of you will go first?" Yan Feiyu said to Qin Haodong arrogantly, "You go first, lest you say that I'm bullying you." "No, you go first. I've never stood in military posture before. I need to learn it." As soon as Qin Haodong said this, the surrounding people's eyeballs fell to the ground. He had never stood in military posture or received military training. How could he directly challenge an instructor? Was he out of his mind? Yan Feiyu almost choked to death. What was going on? A guy who didn't know anything wanted to challenge him. And he even wanted to learn it on the spot. What did he think this was? Eating and drinking? Could he learn it just by learning it? Standing in military posture seemed simple, but without a few years of hard work, one could not understand the essence of it at all. Since the challenge had already begun, he had no choice but to be the first to stand up and start standing in military posture. As Duan Bailian said, Yan Feiyu's military quality was still very good. He deeply understood the essentials of military posture and stood straight like a javelin. Duan Bailian nodded slightly. Although his soldier had some flaws in his character, his quality was still good. Ho Wenbin and Zhang Xiaoyan really didn't know what to say at this time. On one side, there was such an excellent instructor, and on the other side, there was a new student who didn't know how to stand in military posture. There was no comparison at all. However, Qin Haodong proposed a challenge, which was like hitting a stone with an egg. Qin Haodong ignored the thoughts of others and looked at Yan Feiyu with burning eyes. He had never stood in military posture before, and he didn't know the essentials of standing in military posture. But it was impossible for him to lose this competition. Who was he? He was the reincarnated Emperor Greenwood. He had an incomparably powerful spirit. At this time, he had already seen every important point of Yan Feiyu, and even the changes in each muscle. If he stood in military posture now, he would at least not lose to Yan Feiyu, but he was not satisfied with this. He wanted Yan Feiyu and Duan Bailian to be convinced of their defeat. Chapter 496. The time needed to stand in the military posture was not too long. It was limited to 3 minutes. Soon, Yan Feiyu finished his performance. He was very confident in his military posture. He turned to look at Qin Haodong and said, "It's your turn." "Don't worry, I haven't finished learning yet." Qin Haodong said to Duan Bailian, "Commander Duan, can you please teach me the essentials of standing in the military posture?" Fang Xiaoping shook his head and whispered to Zhang Jiqiao, "It's so funny. This is the first time I've seen someone learning military posture to compete with an instructor. How could he win? Even if we went up, we would be 100 times better than him." Zhang Jiqiao said, "I thought he was a great person, but it turns out that he's a retard." As someone who had been in the military camp for more than 10 years, Duan Bailian naturally didn't think that Qin Haodong could grasp the essence of standing in the military posture by learning it on the spot. However, since Qin Haodong had asked, he couldn't be too stingy, so he began to explain. The basic essentials of standing in the military posture are: keep your heels together at a 60-degree angle. Keep your legs straight. Stick your thumbs to the second joint of your index finger. Drop your hands naturally and stick close to your trousers. After listening to him, Qin Haodong said, "Commander Duan, what I want to learn is not these basic essentials. Can you tell me about the highest realm of military posture?" Duan Bailian frowned. In his opinion, it was already good enough for Qin Haodong to learn the basic essentials in such a short period of time. There was no need to mention the highest realm. However, in order not to leave a topic for others to talk about, he still said, "The highest realm of standing in the military posture is called 3 streams in one breath. A stream of qi is flat on the shoulder, indomitable between heaven and earth. The wind blows the sand without blinking, and the sky collapses and the earth cracks. A stream of qi protects the body, and the body is like steel, standing tall and proud in the mortal world. The iron-blooded military soul dominates the common people. A stream of qi grabs the ground and cracks the earth. The power to uproot mountains and rivers will never fall, and the wind and rain will not move. After Duan Balian finished speaking, he shook his head slightly. This kind of 3 streams in one breath was difficult to achieve, even for a veteran, who was a few decades late. Even he had just touched the door of 3 streams in one breath. He had not deeply understood its essence, let alone Qin Haodong, who had just learned it on the spot. Battalion Commander Duan, is that what you mean? After Qin Haodong finished speaking, his entire aura suddenly changed. From his body, it was completely in line with the basic essentials that Duan Balian had mentioned. He straightened his back, looked straight ahead, and his eyes were extremely firm. In terms of momentum, he was tall and straight like a pine tree, like a javelin, like a mountain. 3 streams in one breath. How is this possible? Duan Balian was stunned. Although he had not fully understood the realm of one breath to the 3rd level, he had seen it from other soldiers in the military. It was exactly the same as the young man in front of him. It could even be said that the young man's aura was even stronger. He really could not imagine that someone could comprehend the 3rd level of one qi transformation with just his explanation. Was this person human or a monster? At this time, even Zhang Xiaoyan and He Wenbin, who did not understand military essentials, could see the gap between Qin Haodong and Yin Feiyu's performance. If Qin Haodong's military posture was like a pine tree, then Yin Feiyu could only be regarded as a blade of grass. There was no comparison between the two at all. It was obvious who was superior. Yin Feiyu's mouth was wide open. It took him a long time to recover. As a soldier, he could see more clearly than others. He shouted at Qin Haodong, "You're lying. You're definitely a soldier in a military, or grew up in a military compound. Otherwise, it would be impossible for you to stand in the 3rd level of one qi transformation." Qin Haodong stopped his military posture and looked at him with a faint smile. "A loss is a loss. Does it matter? Besides, there's no need to lie to you. I've never been a soldier, nor did I grow up in a military compound. This is indeed the first time I've stood in a military posture." Ignoring the pale Yin Feiyu, he turned to Duan Balian and said, "Commander Duan, can you announce the result? You won. Yin Feiyu is much worse than you." Although Duan Balian did not want to say this, the fact was there. Qin Haodong had already stood in the highest realm of the 3rd level of one qi transformation. He could not protect him even if he wanted to. At this time, the surrounding students came back to their senses and burst into an uproar. Qin Haodong won. He actually won. The first time he learned to stand in a military posture, he had defeated the instructor. What kind of monster was this guy? Ji Fubao, Tian Boguang, and Dai Hongbing were extremely excited. They did not care that the teachers and the principal were present and shouted excitedly, "Boss, you're so powerful. Boss, you're so awesome. Boss, please accept my knee." Qin Haodong did not care about this at all. To be honest, he was bullying Yin Feiyu with his strength, so there was nothing to be happy about. He calmly said to Duan Balian, "Commander Duan, let's go to the 2nd round." The 2nd round was a physical competition. Duan Balian knew his soldiers very well, so he directly set the event as Yin Feiyu's specialty push-ups. The time limit was 3 minutes. Whoever did the most push-ups would win. He really did not want to lose again. If Yin Feiyu lost to Qin Haodong with a score of 0-2, the special forces of the Shanghai military region would also lose face. Qin Haodong did not care about this at all. Whether it was push-ups or other events, it was just a process. The result had already been decided. He would definitely win. Yin Feiyu glanced at Qin Haodong and said, "You go first this time." Qin Haodong said, "I think it's better for you to go first. If I do it first, I'm afraid you won't even have the courage to lie down." Seeing that Qin Haodong did not take him seriously, Yin Feiyu said angrily, "You're boasting shamelessly. Today, I'll see how you can make me not have the courage to lie down." "That's what you said. Don't regret it." After Qin Haodong said that, he motioned to Zhang Xiaoyan, who was counting next to him, and said, "Teacher, we can start." He bent down and propped himself on the ground. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. Push-ups were Yan Feiyu's strength. Until now, the push-up record of the Special Forces of the Shanghai military region was still his. No one had been able to break it for many years. Therefore, he was dismissive of Qin Haodong's performance. He proudly raised his head and looked up at the sky. With Zhang Xiaoyan's announcement, the second round of the competition officially began. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The students around him helped Qin Haodong count loudly. Yan Feiyu was stunned for a moment. It was too fast. In just a few seconds, Qin Haodong had already counted 12, 13, 14. He quickly looked down and his expression suddenly changed. He saw that Qin Haodong's whole body was moving up and down on the ground, as if he had a spring installed. His speed was really amazing. He was sure that he had never seen such a fast push-up in so many years. It was even faster than the number of people. The most important thing was that his movements were extremely standard. His whole body was like a flat plate moving up and down. Only his two arms were constantly supporting the ground. The students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class became more and more excited as they counted, especially Ji Fubao, Tian Boguang, and the others. Their shouts almost broke through the sky. 35, 36, 37. It was too fast. Even Fang Xiaoping and the others had to be impressed by Qin Haodong's speed. Li Meiyu said in surprise, "Why do I feel like he doesn't use any strength at all?" Nalan Wushuang said, "This kind of simple movement really doesn't use any strength for him." Qin Haodong was an expert at the third level of the supreme power realm. For him, doing push-ups was as easy as eating and drinking. If he wanted to, he could do it all the time. 115, 116, 117. As time went by, the shouts became louder and louder, which made the surrounding classes more and more curious. However, Qin Haodong's figure was tightly blocked by other students. The people outside could not see anything at all, let alone know what was happening inside. Look at how easy their training is. Everyone gets together and counts happily. How can it be as hard as us? You're standing here like a pillar with a military posture. Under many envious eyes, Qin Haodong had already done 120 push-ups, which lasted for exactly 1 minute. Yan Feiyu's face was pale. According to his current performance, he could not compare with Qin Haodong in any case. Although push-ups were his specialty, he could not do it so fast. His only hope now was that Qin Haodong's endurance was not good enough, and he would slow down in the remaining 2 minutes. But a scene that shocked him appeared again. Qin Haodong seemed to feel that doing push-ups with both hands was not difficult. He directly put his left hand behind his back and did it with his right hand. One-handed push-ups. The people around suddenly exclaimed. It should be known that doing push-ups with one hand was several times more difficult than doing it with 2 hands. How much strength did he need to do it? But then they found that although Qin Haodong had put away one hand, his speed did not decrease at all. He was still moving up and down at a high frequency. After the right hand, he did the left hand. After the left hand, he used 2 fingers. After that, he used 2 fingers. After that, he used 1 finger. Looking at the push-ups in front of them, which were like juggling, everyone was dumbfounded. Was he still a human? 3 minutes later, Qin Haodong's performance ended. Although he had changed many difficult methods, his speed was still amazing. 305 push-ups. This number was already very amazing. The Guinness World Record for a single minute was 108. Yan Feiyu's highest record per minute was 98, and his best record in 3 minutes was 240. Qin Haodong didn't want to be too shocking, so he controlled his speed within this range. In his words, it was better to keep a low profile. The problem now was that his low-key performance had shocked everyone. At this moment, Yan Feiyu wanted to cry but had no tears. He even felt a burning pain on his cheeks. It was a slap on his face. As Qin Haodong said, he now had no courage to climb down. Putting aside the difficulty, he could not catch up with Qin Haodong in terms of quantity alone. Duan Bailian had realized that he had lost today, and he had lost completely. Qin Haodong's performance was so outstanding that it was beyond his imagination. However, the competition still had to be carried out according to the rules. He said to Yan Feiyu, "Next, it's your turn." The muscles on Yan Feiyu's face twitched and he said with difficulty, "I admit defeat in this game." Duan Bailin's face darkened. According to the rules of the best of three, Qin Haodong had won 2 games in a row and succeeded in the challenge. According to the previous promise, they had to change the instructor. Next, I announce. Just as Duan Bailian was about to announce the result of the challenge, Yan Feiyu stepped forward and said, "Commander, I want to compete with him for the 3rd game. You have already lost. Is it necessary?" "Of course. For the sake of honor, I want to compete with him again." Yan Feiyu was really unwilling. Although he had lost today, he still wanted to win back a game. It was better than not winning. Duan Bailian understood his mood, but he still needed Qin Haodong's approval. He turned around and asked, "Student, what do you think?" Qin Haodong spread his hands and said, "I don't care. If you want to compete, then compete. Anyway, it's the difference between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Chapter 497. Yan Feiyu's face was full of anger, and he said in a low voice, "As your opponent, I ask you to respect me." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "When you were an instructor, you didn't respect your students. Now as an opponent, why should I respect you? If you want others to respect you, you must first learn to respect others. I'm already saving you face by not calling you a pig." Yan Feiyu had always been strong and never considered other people's feelings. At this moment, he realized how important respect was to a person, whether it was an opponent or a student. Under Zhang Xiaoyan's organization, the students slowly spread out, leaving a space of about 10 square meters in the middle. Qin Haodong stood with his hands behind his back, looked at Yan Feiyu and said, "Since you are not willing, I will give you a chance to make a move. If I make a move first, you will have no chance at all." If it was before, Yan Feiyu would have thought that Qin Haodong was talking nonsense. But at this moment, he did not dare to underestimate this evil-like young man. Therefore, he did not stand on ceremony and directly made a military boxing gesture. Then, his feet moved quickly, and he instantly appeared in front of Qin Haodong and punched him hard. Although military boxing did not look gorgeous, its moves were simple and practical. It was very fast and very practical. Yan Feiyu's punch was powerful. In his opinion, Qin Haodong's strength should not be comparable to his. In the face of this punch, Qin Haodong would definitely dodge. He had even thought of the follow-up moves. However, Qin Haodong was Qin Haodong, the first expert to reach the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. How could he take his ordinary punch seriously? Under everyone's surprised eyes, Qin Haodong gently raised his left hand and grabbed Yan Feiyu's fist, as if he was taking something out of his pocket. This seemed easy and casual. In the eyes of others, it was as if he was holding his girlfriend's hand. But only Yan Feiyu knew the feeling. At this moment, his fist seemed to be clamped by an iron pincer. He could not move it at all, and the pain was deep to the bone. Left whip kick. Under the severe pain, Yan Feiyu flew his left foot and kicked Qin Haodong's cheek hard. He wanted to use the method of besieging Wei to rescue Zhao Zhao and force the young man to let go of him. He did let go, but his whole body flew out. Qin Haodong's right foot arrived first. As soon as the whip kick was lifted, it had already kicked his lower abdomen. This time, he did not use any genuine qi, and only relied on his physical strength. Even so, Yan Feiyu could not bear it, and fell to the ground with a plop. He struggled a few times with all his might, but he still could not stand up. An instant kill. The entire arena was silent. Although everyone had greatly raised their expectations of Qin Haodong through his performance in the previous 2 games, they did not expect him to win so easily. One had to know that the other party was the instructor of Shanghai's Special Forces, an existence that even ordinary people had to look up to. However, he had actually been defeated so miserably in front of him. He could not even block a single move. Zhang Jichao was the one who was the most agitated. He had thought that Qin Haodong's punch was a sneak attack. If it had been a fair and square challenge, Qin Haodong would have been no match for him. But now, he didn't think that way. Based on the few moves of Taekwondo that he practiced, if they were to really fight, his opponent would definitely beat him up like a dog in an instant. After a long time, Yin Feiyu slowly got up from the ground. Qin Haodong looked at him and said, "How about it? Do you still want to compete?" "I admit defeat." Yin Feiyu spat out these words with difficulty. Then he turned his head and came to Zhifubao. "I'm sorry, it was my fault just now. I lack basic respect for the students. I'm too high and mighty. I'm not worthy of being your instructor." At that moment he really realized his mistake. Whether the other party was a student or an opponent, he had to give basic respect. After apologizing to Zhifubao, he said to Duan Balian, "Commander, I'm really not qualified to be the instructor of the Chinese medicine practitioner class. I apply to go back to the Shanghai military region to participate in the new phase of hell training." Duan Balian nodded. His soldier had always been proud and arrogant. Originally, he was afraid that he would not be able to recover from this setback. He did not expect that this failure would arouse his fighting spirit, which could be regarded as a bad thing turning into a good thing. He said, "I approve it. You can go back to the military region now. I think you can still make it." "Thank you, Commander." Yin Feiyu gave a standard military salute to Duan Balian, and then gave a military salute to Qin Haodong. Then, he turned around and left the training ground, returning to the Shanghai military region. Looking at his back as he left, the students present had different reactions. Several people in the 508 dormitory cheered, and were extremely excited. In their opinion, Qin Haodong's honor was their honor. He could suppress the instructor with his strength. Who dared to say that their brother was not powerful? Other ordinary students looked at Qin Haodong with envy in their eyes. Li Meiyu and Su Hui's eyes were full of splendor. They could not see through this new classmate. Nalan Wushuang and Qi Weiner's reactions were very calm. Just now, all of this could be easily done by anyone from the Daddy Security Company, let alone the big boss, Qin Haodong. The people in the 510 dormitory had the ugliest expressions. They originally wanted to see the instructor teach Qin Haodong a lesson, but they did not expect the whole situation to be reversed. The instructor was trampled all over, and Qin Haodong became the most popular person in the entire training ground. After the incident, the scheduled military training plan still had to be carried out. Ho Wenbin said to Duan Balian, "Commander Duan, please send a new instructor to the Chinese medicine practitioner class." Duan Balian shook his head and said, "The number of our instructors is set in advance. There are no substitutes at all." Ho Wenbin said, How can this be? If there is no instructor, how can the military training of the Chinese medicine practitioner class be carried out?" "It's very simple. I think this kid's military quality is good. He can suppress Yin Feiyu in all aspects, so it's naturally no problem for him to be an instructor. Let him be the instructor of the Chinese medicine practitioner class." While speaking, Duan Balian had a faint smile on his face. No one knew if he wanted to take revenge on Qin Haodong because of Yin Feiyu's failure, or if he really appreciated him. Zhang Xiaoyan said, "Commander Duan, will this work? Haodong is just a freshman. Why not? Yin Feiyu is the best among our instructors. He is much better than Yin Feiyu, so it's naturally no problem for him to be an instructor." After that, he took a deep look at Qin Haodong and turned to leave. A smile appeared on the corner of Ho Wenbin's mouth. It was a good idea to let Miss Zhou's boyfriend be an instructor. Moreover, Qin Haodong's performance was too outstanding. As Duan Balian said, a person who could completely defeat an instructor would naturally have no problem being an instructor. He said, "Then let's do it this way. From now on, Qin Haodong will be the military training instructor of the Chinese medicine practitioner class." Qin Haodong originally just wanted to vent his anger for his brother, but he didn't expect things to turn out like this. He quickly said, "Principal, is this appropriate?" "What's inappropriate about it? Solve your own trouble. You beat the instructor away. If you don't do it, who will?" Ho Wenbin looked at him and said, "From now on, you are the instructor. You have to teach him well." After that, he also left the scene with his hands behind his back. Qin Haodong had a bitter look on his face. He originally wanted to keep a low profile, But now he had suddenly become an instructor from a student. Why was it so difficult to keep a low profile? Seeing that Duan Bailian and Ho Wenbin had made up their minds, Zhang Xiaoyan, who originally admired Qin Haodong very much, naturally would not object. She asked the students of the Chinese medicine practitioner class to gather, and then said, "From now on, Qin Haodong will be the military training instructor of our class. Everyone must cooperate with his work and strive to hand in satisfactory results in 10 days. There was a thunderous applause. Everyone welcomed Qin Haodong as an instructor with both hands. Needless to say, Ji Fubao and the others had already admired this student in their class. "Teacher, I have a question." After the applause, a sudden voice sounded. It was Fang Xiaoping, who was standing in the second row. Zhang Xiaoyan glanced at him and said, "What's your question?" Fang Xiaoping said, "Before our 510 dormitory and the 508 dormitory made a bet to see which dormitory performed the best in the military training. Now that Qin Haodong has become an instructor, shouldn't he withdraw from this bet?" On the surface, what he said was very reasonable. Qin Haodong had become an instructor, so it was naturally not appropriate for him to participate in the competition. However, in reality, the strongest person in the 508 dormitory was Qin Haodong. If he was thrown out, the remaining people, including Ji Fubao, had no hope of winning. Fang Xiaoping had his own ideas. Now it seemed that it was impossible to get back his face from Qin Haodong, the evildoer. He could only vent his anger on the remaining people in the 508 dormitory. This, as a teacher, Zhang Xiaoyan could naturally see that something was wrong. She didn't know what to say. She looked at Qin Haodong with some embarrassment. Qin Haodong smiled disdainfully. He could naturally see through Fang Xiaoping's plan. He said, "Yes, as an instructor, in order to ensure the fairness of the competition, I should automatically withdraw from the competition." Hearing what he said, Ji Fubao's face suddenly turned bitter. It wasn't that the fat brother was not confident, but his body was really disappointing. The people in the 510 dormitory were all smiling. Without Qin Haodong, it would be a piece of cake for them to take down the remaining good-for-nothings in the 508 dormitory. Seeing that there were no other questions, Zhang Xiaoyan also left. She handed the entire class over to Qin Haodong. The rest of the military training was completely up to him. Looking at Qin Haodong, who was standing in front of the formation, Fang Xiaoping felt upset. He had always felt that he should be the favored one. He wanted to perform well in the military training and trample on Qin Haodong. But now Qin Haodong was standing in front of him as an instructor, and he was the student being trained. The two of them didn't even have the qualifications to compare. They were both freshmen, but why was the gap between them so big? The other students didn't have such complicated thoughts. They all looked at Qin Haodong with shining eyes. They didn't know what kind of surprise their instructor would bring to everyone. Qin Haodong's expression was serious. His cold eyes swept around the queue. The people in the queue suddenly became nervous. As the saying goes, a new official has to make changes. Was this guy going to give everyone a devil's training? Looking at the students in the other classes who were so tired that their tongues were about to hang out, they couldn't help but feel a chill. That was really possible. At that moment Qin Haodong said, "I will now announce the first part of the military training. Everyone dismiss and rest." "Oh my God, long live Instructor Qin. Instructor Qin, I love you. If I wasn't a man, I would give birth to your children. Great, I feel so happy." The students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class were indeed very happy. After dispersing, they sat in groups of 2 under the shade of a tree and watched the students of the other classes being tortured by the instructor under the hot sun. The students saw that their side was so bitter. However, the people of the Chinese medicine practitioners class were on vacation under the shade of a tree. They were so jealous that they were about to go crazy. However, there was nothing they could do. They didn't have such powerful students in their class. Chapter 498. Of course, Qin Haodong wouldn't give his classmates a holiday for no reason. He had no choice because he didn't know any of the military training subjects. How could he train them? Therefore, After he gave his classmates a holiday, he immediately went to the teams of other classes to learn and carefully watched how the other instructors trained. With a strong spirit as his backing, he could learn 100% of the other instructors' movements with just a few glances, and he could even perform better. By the time he had walked through all the class's teams, he had basically learned all the military training skills. The only trouble was that he had become a celebrity among the new students. Everyone knew that he was the student who defeated the instructor. Wherever he went, he would cause a commotion. Especially during the break, some of the female students in the other classes would flirt at him, some would scream at him, and some would even run over to him and stuff notes in his hand. These unrestrained female students made him flee. In the end, he could only choose to watch from afar. Qin Haodong spent the rest of the first day studying, and the students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class were even more comfortable. Some people said that happiness was obtained through comparison to some extent. Now the students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class had a deep understanding of the meaning of this sentence. Others were standing in military posture under the hot sun, while they were leisurely chatting under the shade of a tree. That was happiness. Others were running hard to train their physical strength, while they were still leisurely enjoying the cool under the shade of a tree. That was happiness. Others were beaten to a pulp by the fierce instructors, but their instructors could give them a holiday. That was happiness. A happy day was always short. Near evening, the other teams gathered, and Qin Haodong also gathered the Chinese medicine practitioners class. He announced that they were dismissed for the day, and that training would officially start tomorrow. After the team was dismissed, he called Su Hui over and whispered something in her ear. Then, he went back to the dormitory with Ji Fubao and the others. "Boss, what did you just say to the beauty Su?" Although Ji Fubao was fat all over his body, it did not affect his curiosity and gossipy heart. "I told her that you've always had a crush on her, and asked her to think about it." Ji Fubao suddenly became excited. He grabbed Qin Haodong's arm, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. "Really, boss? Did you really say that? What do you think the beauty said?" "She said she could think about it, but she needs your help with something." "That's too easy, boss. Not to mention one thing. Even if it's 100 things, or 1,000 things, I, fat bro, will not hesitate." Ji Fubao was so excited that he was about to fly. No one could understand how a single dog felt, especially when the other party was a super beauty like Su Hui. Qin Haodong said with a playful look, "That's what you said. Don't be afraid when Su Hui comes." Ji Fubao patted his chest and said, "Boss, I'm a real man. How can I be afraid of this kind of thing? I can only take the lead and move forward without hesitation." In his excitement, he used 3 idioms in a row. Tian Buguang laughed and said, "Fat brother, you should think about how to reduce your weight to 12 pounds. Now that you are more than 100 pounds, military training is really a problem. Didn't you see that Feng Xiaoping? And those guys are still thinking about our dormitory? If we lose, we can't afford to lose face." When it came to weight, Ji Fubao's fat face immediately became bitter. "I can't help it. I'm just so fat. It's useless to be anxious." Dai Hongbing, who had been silent, asked, "What's the bet between our dormitory and the 510 dormitory?" Tian Buguang said, "Whoever loses will announce in front of the whole class that he is a woman." Dai Hongbing immediately widened his eyes and said, "Wouldn't that be so embarrassing?" Ji Fubao said, "That's right. I was counting on you to support us, but now I can't count on you." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Don't worry. As long as I'm here, it's impossible for you to win against my brother." Tian Buguang said, "But boss, you are now an instructor. Are you going to side with us?" "I definitely won't side with you," Qin Haodong said. "I will let you win this bet with your strength." "With strength?" Ji Fubao patted his big belly and said with a smile, "I don't have strength, but I can rely on my weight." While talking, they returned to the dormitory. Not long after they entered the door, they heard a knock on the door. "Who is it?" "We are all men. Just come in." "Why are you knocking on the door?" Tian Buguang was sleeping at the door. He opened the door as he spoke. When he saw Su Hui standing at the door, he was stunned. "What's wrong? Don't you welcome me in your dormitory?" Su Hui said. Welcome, welcome, you are very welcome. Tian Buoguang came to his senses and quickly let Su Hui into the dormitory. He hid the 2 stinky socks that had just been thrown on the bed under the pillow. The others also moved after hearing the news. They folded the quilts and put on their clothes, trying their best to maintain their image in the goddess's heart. Ji Fubao originally thought that the military training clothes were too small, so he took off his upper body after entering the room. Now he quickly put on the clothes again, trying his best to cover his fat body. When he saw Su Hui's eyes fall on him, he said nervously, Su Hui, are you here for our boss? No, I'm not looking for Brother Haodong this time. I'm looking for you. Su Hui said softly, I want to ask you for a favor. I don't know if you're willing to do it. With Qin Haodong's previous warning, Ji Fubao immediately jumped out of bed and said excitedly, I'm willing. Boss has already told me that I'm willing to do anything you want me to do. I'll do anything for you. Tian Buoguang and Dai Hongbing both widened their eyes. Could it be that this fat man was really lucky with women? Why did Su Hui value him? Could it be that Su Hui liked fat men? Looking at all this, Qin Haodong smiled wickedly. Su Hui breathed a sigh of relief. She was a little nervous after receiving Qin Haodong's task. She was afraid that Ji Fubao would not cooperate. Now it seemed that her worry was unnecessary. She said, Since Brother Haodong has told you, and you are willing to do it, then take off your clothes. I'll do anything you want, Ji Fubao said excitedly. Suddenly he reacted. What? Take off my clothes? That's too fast, and there are so many people in the dormitory. Why don't we go somewhere else? Ji Fubao and Dai Hongbing were also dumbfounded. The impression that Su Hui gave people was that she was elegant, quiet, and pure, like a fairy who had descended to the world. Why did she want to take off her clothes when they met? Wasn't that too bold? Su Hui's cheeks turned slightly red, and then she said, Didn't Brother Haodong tell you clearly that he wanted you to help me test the needles? As she spoke, she took out the needle bag from her backpack and opened it, revealing the shiny silver needles. What? Test the needles? Looking at the shiny silver needles, Ji Fubao couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. He felt that he had fallen into a trap. He looked back at Qin Haodong, only to see that Qin Haodong was leisurely enjoying the scenery outside the window. He didn't even look at him. It's over. Boss sold himself. Ji Fubao wailed in his heart. Su Hui said, What? Are you unwilling? If you don't want to, I'll find someone else. At this time, Tian Buoguang also figured out what was going on. He smiled and said, Su Hui, you don't know our fat brother. He has always been a man of his words. Even his saliva is a nail. He just said that he would go through a mountain of knives and a sea of fire. How could he care about a few small silver needles? Dai Hongbing followed and said, That's right. I think fat brother is excited. It's every man's honor to be able to test the needles for Su Hui. Tian Buoguang said with a smile, I also want to test the needles for Su Hui, but she doesn't like me. After all, I don't have a body like fat brother. Ji Fubao glared at his 2 bad friends, swallowed, gritted his teeth and said, That's right. I always keep my word. It's just a test needle. It's nothing. How do you want to do it? Su Hui asked him to sit on a chair and take off his shirt, revealing his fat body. Then, she took a silver needle and slowly pierced it after thinking for a moment. She came from a family of traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. She had learned traditional Chinese medicine from Su Hongba since she was a child. Her acupuncture techniques were also inherited from Su Hongba. Her hands were steady, and her acupoints were accurate. Ji Fubao didn't feel much. The first silver needle had already pierced an acupoint on his back. It didn't hurt or itch. It turned out that it was so simple to test the needles. Ji Fubao's heart was immediately relieved. He said proudly to Tian Buoguang and Su Hui, See? What do you mean by a tough man? Fat brother is so tough. He doesn't even blink when a needle is pierced. As he was speaking, the second needle was pierced. Ji Fubao suddenly grinned and screamed, Ouch, it hurts. Su Hui quickly apologized, I'm sorry. I just learned this set of 9 magical needles of plum blossom from Brother Haodong. I'm not proficient in using it yet. The needle is a little crooked. Tian Buoguang said with a smile. It doesn't matter. I'm a tough man. I can stand it even if it's crooked. I won't even blink. Dai Hongbing said, that's why it's called needle testing. You'll get proficient as you practice. Su Hui, quickly pull out the needle and try again. Tian Boguang and Dai Hongbing were extremely excited to see Ji Fubao suffering. About 5 minutes later, Ji Fubao's back was already full of silver needles. He looked like a hedgehog. It was Su Hui's first time using the 9 magical needles of plum blossom. Naturally, she was not very proficient, so there were often mistakes. It made Ji Fubao feel pain, numbness, and itchiness from time to time. He screamed and laughed from time to time, looking like a psychopath. At that moment, Su Hui pierced another silver needle. Ji Fubao suddenly shouted, "Oh no, I've lost all my senses. I can't move at all." Su Hui quickly said nervously, "No, I don't think there's anything wrong with the needle. How could this be?" While speaking, she quickly pulled out the silver needle, but Ji Fubao still lost control of his body. Except for his mouth, he couldn't move any other parts of his body. Su Hui was a little flustered and quickly shouted, "Brother Haodong, help me see what's going on." In fact, Qin Haodong had been watching silently from the side. The reason why he asked Ji Fubao to test the needle for Su Hui was that Ji Fubao was indeed the best target to test the needle with his fat body. If he could accurately grasp the acupoints with his fat body, then there would be no problem for anyone else. In addition, in order to win the bet with the 510 dormitory, Ji Fubao had to lose weight. Qin Haodong had many methods to make Ji Fubao lose weight, but either the speed was too slow, or it would cause physical damage and other sequelae. In contrast, the 9 magical needles of plum blossom that Su Hui had learned was the most suitable for Ji Fubao to lose weight. This set of needles came from the plum blossom fairy of the cultivation world. For women, losing weight had always been the most important thing, whether it was ordinary people or female cultivators. Therefore, this set of needles was unique for losing weight. It was very effective and had no side effects. Chapter 499. Because of this, practicing the 9 magical needles of plum blossom on Ji Fubao was beneficial to both of them. Moreover, with him watching from the side, there would be no danger. Qin Haodong came to Su Hui's side and said, "The 9 magic needles of plum blossom are broad and profound. They were created according to the congenital 8 diagrams. The needle you just stabbed is the needle eye of the magic needles of plum blossom. If you can accurately grasp the technique of this needle, you will have reached the first stage of the magic needles of plum blossom." "I got it, Brother Haodong," Su Hui said in confusion. "According to the needle technique, I don't think there's anything wrong with the technique. Why is there a deviation after the needle is stabbed?" Qin Haodong said, "Everything in the world is changing, and so is the human body. Because of different physiques, different genders, and different emotions, the acupoints of each person will have very subtle changes. This needs to be grasped by the acupuncturist carefully. If not grasped correctly, there will be mistakes." After that, he stretched out his hand and patted Ji Fubao's chest, unsealing the acupoints that had just been sealed. Ji Fubao immediately regained his ability to move. He cried with a bitter face, "Su Hui, hurry up and pull out the needles. You can't try anymore. I haven't had a girlfriend yet. If I become disabled like this, what will I do for the rest of my life?" Qin Haodong patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Sit still. You can't stop the acupuncture when you start. Otherwise, you will have to serve the emperor in the palace for the rest of your life because of the lack of yang qi." Of course, these words were just to scare him. If he stopped now, there wouldn't be too many side effects, but the weight loss effect wouldn't be achieved. Ji Fubao didn't know if it was true or not, so he was immediately dumbfounded. He said with a sad face, "Boss, how could you do this to your brother?" Qin Haodong said, "Cooperate with me and I promise you'll be fine." Tian Boguang smiled and said, "Brother Fatty, actually, it's not bad to serve the emperor in the palace. It's such a great job. Get out of here. I'll let Su Hui test the needle on you next time." Ji Fubao scolded Tian Boguang in annoyance, but he didn't dare to move at all. He was afraid that it would really cause some side effects. and he would be completely crippled for the rest of his life. Boss, you have to do it well. My Ji family has only one son for 3 generations. We're relying on me to carry on the family line. You'll be fine if you behave yourself. Qin Haodong pointed at Su Hui again and said, Try it again this time. Ji Fubao was speechless. Boss, how many more times do we have to try? Qin Haodong smiled and said, Have some professionalism. Love what you do. You must let them learn it. Their jokes made Su Hui relax a lot. She closed her eyes and went through the main points that Qin Haodong had said from beginning to end. Then, she picked up the silver needle and pierced it into the acupoint where Ji Fubao had just been. The 9 magical needles of plum blossom were indeed extremely profound. Amidst Ji Fubao's miserable screams, the needle went askew again. It's all right. Don't be nervous. Relax and adjust your breathing. Let's go again. Then Qin Haodong explained the main points and the reasons for failure again. After 3 consecutive attempts, he finally succeeded when he inserted the 5th needle. Ji Fubao didn't know what the result would be. He quickly shouted nervously, Boss, it's so hot. Why is it so hot? I feel like my blood is on fire. That's right. It's burning your fat. Just lie down tonight and don't move. There will be a big surprise tomorrow morning. After saying that, Qin Haodong began to guide Su Hui to complete the following acupuncture. The needle just now was the eye of the 9 magical needles of plum blossom. After this stage, the rest would be much easier. With Su Hui's intelligence and talent, she quickly mastered it. 10 minutes later, Su Hui removed all the silver needles from Ji Fubao's body. This time, the acupuncture was successfully completed. Qin Haodong nodded and said approvingly, From now on, you have entered the first stage of the 9 magical needles of plum blossom. Come to practice with Ji Fubao at this time tomorrow night. Ji Fubao had just stood up. When he heard the news, he immediately cried and fell on the bed. Boss, I still have to practice. Can I not practice? Qin Haodong smiled and said, It's fine if you don't practice. Then go to Fang Xiaoping and directly admit that you are a woman. Hearing this, Ji Fubao suddenly widened his small eyes and said, That won't do. My fat brother won't bow to those guys, even if he is stabbed to death. Tian Boguang said, Fat brother, I support you. Let's continue to let Su Hui do it tomorrow. After the first day of practicing the magical needles of plum blossom, Qin Haodong sent Su Hui out of the boys' dormitory. After going out, he took out a physique-improving pill from his pocket and gave it to Su Hui. Take this. Eat it when you go back. What is this? Su Hui said as she took the pill. This is the physique-improving pill. After eating it, it will improve your physique. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the military training tomorrow. Okay, thank you, Brother Haodong. At this time, Su Hui had already admired Qin Haodong's medical skills to the extreme. She took the pill back to the dormitory without any doubt. Qin Haodong looked at his mobile phone. It was already past dinner time, so he used his mobile phone to order a lot of takeout. They ate together in the dormitory. Seeing the rich food on the table, Ji Fubao exclaimed, Boss, why don't I have any appetite when I see these things? I even feel disgusted. I don't want to eat at all. Have I lost the ability to eat? Qin Haodong said, Don't worry. This is a natural reaction to losing weight with the magical needles of plum blossom. When the weight loss is over, your appetite will naturally return. It was the first time that Tian Boguang saw that Ji Fubao was not interested in food. He said excitedly, Fat brother, don't worry. I can eat more for you. You can just watch from the side. You. How could I know such a bad friend like you? Are we still brothers? Ji Fubao was full of anger and grievances, but he had no appetite at all. He glanced at the food on the table and went back to bed. Get up. Get up. Early the next morning, Qin Haodong woke them up at dawn. It's too early. Why did you get up so early? Tian Boguang sat up from the bed in a daze. Suddenly, he saw Ji Fubao on the opposite bed. His eyes suddenly widened, and he was no longer sleepy. Fat brother, your chest seems to be much smaller. Hearing what he said, Dai Hongbing also looked over and said, It's true. Fat brother's chest is indeed smaller. In the past, because Ji Fubao was too fat, His chest was definitely not smaller than that of an ordinary female classmate. Tian Boguang often said that his chest was a C cup. Now it seemed that it was at least one level smaller, at most a B cup. Hearing what the two said, Ji Fubao suddenly became energetic. He reached out to touch the fat on his chest and cried out in surprise. I've lost weight. I've really lost weight. Tian Boguang said, Fat brother, don't be happy too early. I heard that people usually slim their chest first when they lose weight. Before their belly becomes flat, their chest becomes flat first. Ji Fubao jumped out of bed and reached out to touch his originally round belly. It was at least one size smaller than before. Look, I've really lost weight. I've lost weight everywhere. It looks like I've lost at least 20 kilograms. As he spoke, he put on the military uniform that was placed next to him. The clothes that were tight yesterday were just right for him to wear today, and they were even a little fat. Tian Boguang exclaimed, This is amazing. I've never heard of anyone losing weight so fast. Dai Hongbing reached out and patted Ji Fubao's belly. It's really amazing. Generally, the skin will be loose after losing weight, but Fat Brother's skin is still so tight. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. These were all within his expectations. The 9 magic needles of plum blossom was a secret technique of the cultivation world. After the acupuncture, it would quickly reduce fat and tighten the skin. It would not cause the skin to be loose due to ordinary weight loss methods. Haha, I've really lost weight. Fat brother, I've really lost weight. Ji Fubao jumped a few times on the ground and felt that his whole body was much lighter than before. He shouted excitedly, Where's Su Hui? I'm going to find her. Hurry up and stab me with the needles. Stab me to death. Dai Hongbing said, Fat brother, we have hope in the competition with the 510 dormitory this time. The guys in the 510 dormitory have excellent physical fitness. It's not enough to just lose a little bit of weight. As Qin Haodong spoke, he took out 3 small pills and gave one to each of the 3 of them. This is the physique improving pill. One for each of you. After eating it, I guarantee that you'll be full of vigor. You'll trample on the 510 dormitory until nothing is left. Fang Xiaoping and the others thought that as long as Qin Haodong was excluded, they could definitely win against the 508 dormitory. However, they didn't know how magical Qin Haodong's medical skills were. It was as easy as eating and breathing for him to change the physique of several people. They had absolute trust in Qin Haodong. They took the pills and immediately ate them. With the help of the Greenwood Genuine Qi, they all absorbed the physique-improving pill half an hour later. Try it. How is the effect? After Qin Haodong finished speaking, they jumped out of bed one after another. Ji Fubao waved his fist and shouted exaggeratedly, Boss, I feel like I can blow up the earth with one punch. Tian Boguang shouted, Boss, I feel like I'm as light as a swallow. I'm about to fly. Dai Hongbing shouted, I feel like I have endless strength. I don't even need to eat or sleep. Keep a low profile. Remember, you must keep a low profile. Qin Haodong smiled and said, Let's go. Let's go for morning exercises together. According to the school's regulations during the military training period, every class had to go to the training ground for morning training at 6 o'clock in the morning to improve the students' physical fitness. When the Chinese medicine practitioners class gathered, the other classes had already started training. Some classes ran 1,500 meters, some ran 2,000 meters, and some with good physical fitness ran 3,000 meters. Qin Haodong said to everyone with a smile, Students, how much do you think we should run? Fang Xiaoping's mouth was full of pride. Long-distance running was the specialty of the people in the 510 dormitory. The time to step on the trash in the 508 dormitory had finally arrived. Before anyone else could speak, he shouted first, Our Chinese medicine practitioners class can't be worse than others. We have to run at least 3,000 meters. As soon as he started, the others also understood and shouted, Yes, we have to run at least 3,000 meters to improve our physical fitness. They even looked at Ji Fubao and the others gloatingly. Sure enough, Ji Fubao immediately shouted as they had expected, I don't agree. Fang Xiaoping sneered and said, Fatty, This is the first competition between our two dormitories. Are you scared before it even starts? Wang Haiqiang said. If you're really scared, then immediately admit that you're a woman. We brothers will let you go. Bah, I, fat brother, am not afraid of you cowards. Ji Fubao shouted. I mean, 3,000 meters is too little. If we want to run, let's run 10,000 meters. 10,000 meters? Fang Xiaoping smiled disdainfully and said, well, if you say 10,000 meters, then 10,000 meters. Whoever can't run it is a woman. Yes, whoever can't run it is a woman. Tian Buguang and Dai Hongbing both shouted together. They felt that their whole bodies were full of energy, and they urgently needed to vent. The short distance was really not enough. Chapter 500. Qin Haodong smiled and said, since everyone is so enthusiastic, let's run the 10,000-meter run. Let's start now. So the morning exercise of the Chinese medicine practitioners class began. To the surprise of the other classes, these guys who had rested for a day yesterday actually took the initiative to increase the training to the 10,000-meter run. Fang Xiaoping and the 510 dormitory were the first to rush out. The four of them had very good physical fitness. Although it was a bit difficult to run the 10,000-meter run, they could still persist after clenching their teeth. Fang Xiaoping and Zhang Jichao ran at the front of the team today. Zhang Jichao said, Boss, what do you think will happen to the fat guys later? Will they spit out their lungs? Fang Xiaoping smiled and said, it's unlikely that they will spit out their lungs, but they will definitely spit out their tongues, especially that fat guy. I think he will soon spit out blood. Zhang Jichao said, Boss, I heard that when you were in high school, you set the school's 10,000-meter record. Fang Xiaoping said proudly, it was in the past, and it will probably be in the future. After all, my results were so good that I guess no one will be able to surpass me within 10 years. Zhang Jichao said flatteringly, Boss, you're so modest. I think 10 years is too little. I'm afraid that no one will be able to break your record in a few decades. As the two of them were talking, a figure suddenly overtook them and ran to the front. Fang Xiaoping was shocked. The person who had overtaken him was not someone from the 510 dormitory, but Tian Buguang from the 508 dormitory. This bastard, how dare he overtake us? Hurry up and catch up. Fang Xiaoping and Zhang Jichao sped up and chased after Tian Buguang. However, Tian Buguang was faster. The lead was getting bigger and bigger. At that moment, another figure overtook them. It was Dai Hongbing from the 508 dormitory. What's wrong with these two guys? Did they drink gasoline? How can they run so fast? The two of them couldn't help but be stunned. They began to pant as they kept speeding up. Suddenly, they felt the ground under their feet shake. Then, Ji Fubao's huge body caught up. Although the effect of losing weight yesterday was good, his weight was still more than 100 kilograms. As he ran quickly, the ground made a muffled sound, like a running elephant. What's wrong with you two? Why are you running so slowly? Ji Fubao looked at them playfully and said, you're just like a woman with small feet. I don't have time to play with you. I'll go first. After that, he began to speed up and chase after Tian Buguang and Dai Hongbing in front of him. First, he had lost more than 20 kilograms through the magical plum blossom needles. Then he took the physique-improving pill. Now Ji Fubao had endless strength. He ran easily and effortlessly. For a time, he became the focus of the entire training ground. Oh my God, everyone look, how can that fatty run so fast? This is the fastest fatty I've ever seen. Yeah, he looks like he weighs at least 100 kilograms, right? He obviously looks like a pig, but how can he run faster than a rabbit? This world is too crazy. Even this fatty can surpass me today. I don't want to live anymore. Fang Xiaoping said hatefully. What's going on? How can these three brats run faster than me? Zhang Jichao said, Boss, don't worry. I guess they only have a little strength at the beginning. They definitely won't be able to run later. Fang Xiaoping did not say anything, which was a tacit agreement with Zhang Jichao's words. However, after running more than a dozen laps in a row, the distance between Ji Fubao and the other two was getting farther and farther. They didn't seem to be unable to run at all. On the contrary, they ran faster and faster. These bastards! Looking at the backs of the three people, Feng Xiaoping gritted his teeth with hatred. Because he ran too fast, his chest felt like it was on fire. He felt like he was going to vomit blood. At that moment, there was the sound of messy footsteps behind him, as well as the sound of girls talking and playing with each other. Who is it? Who else can run so fast except for these three beasts? Feng Xiaoping looked back and saw the four girls in his class holding hands and walking with relaxed steps. They began to surpass him while chatting. When they passed by him, Li Meiyu cast a disdainful look at the two of them. How can a man run so slowly? Don't you have any shame? Puff. He really wanted to vomit blood. What was going on? Even the girls ran faster than him. Were they running too fast, or was he running too slow? What he didn't know was that Su Hui and Li Meiyu had taken Qin Haodong's physique-improving pill. Although they were still ordinary people, their physiques had improved a lot. Their muscles were strong, and their breathing was strong. Running was like a game to them. Needless to say, Nailan Wushuang and Qi Wen-er were both warriors at the covert power level. Even their breathing didn't change when they ran. Under the desperate eyes of Feng Xiaoping and Zhang Jiqiao, the four girls ran farther and farther away. It didn't take long for Ji Fubao and the other two to run one lap more than them. When they overtook them for the second time, they were still humming a little song. Two stupid pigs running slow. One is sticking out his tongue, and the other is opening his mouth. It's so ugly, so ugly. Feng Xiaoping was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Wasn't this a song about two tigers running fast? Why did it become two stupid pigs running slow in their mouths? How could they let him live? However, on the sports field, strength was everything. No matter how angry they were and how fast they sped up, Ji Fubao and the others were still falling further and further behind. After running for a while, because this was not mandatory training, the other students slowly withdrew. Only the 4 people from the 510 dormitory and the 3 people from the 508 dormitory were left. It was obviously a competition between 2 dormitories, but there was no suspense. The difference in strength was too great. Ji Fubao and Tian Boguang had already rested at the finish line for a long time. Feng Xiaoping and his roommates had barely run to the finish line. They were so tired that they were panting and sweating profusely. They almost spat out their tongues. Why are you pretending? If you don't have the ability, you still want to provoke others. Not only are you tired like a dog, but you also made us suffer. That's right. If it weren't for the 510 dormitory being high profile, maybe the instructor would have let us run a kilometer. Did you see that? The guys from the 510 dormitory are overestimating themselves. They still want to challenge others at this level. It's so embarrassing. Although the other students hadn't finished the 10,000-meter race, they were also very tired. Naturally, they didn't have a good expression when they saw the 4 of them. Feng Xiaoping and the others looked at each other. They felt so wrong that they wanted to die. They supported each other and went back to the dormitory. However, their physical fitness was really good. When they returned to the training ground after breakfast, they had basically recovered, except for their pale faces. The Chinese medicine practitioners class gathered again. Everyone looked at Qin Haodong with hope. They hoped that their classmate and instructor would be merciful and continue to complete the military training as easily and happily as yesterday. However, they were disappointed. Qin Haodong gave the order with a serious expression. News attention! The Chinese medicine practitioners class military training officially begins. Today's first event is to stand in military posture for an hour. Everyone was completely dumbfounded. An hour of standing in military posture was not a joke. However, since the order had been given, everyone could only follow it. Feng Xiaoping and the others looked at each other and saw the pride in each other's eyes. Although they had failed in the morning's physical training, the military training was completely different. They had all participated in the military training camp before, so they had a certain military training foundation. Although they couldn't compare to regular soldiers, they were much stronger than these students. Especially when they saw Ji Fubao and the others standing in front of them. They thought to themselves that they would definitely win this time. Qin Haodong had learned for a day yesterday and had completely mastered the essentials of being an instructor. Moreover, as the Emperor Greenwood, he had his own unique training method. He first stepped in front of Ji Fubao and began to correct his military posture. Straighten your chest and raise your head. Look straight ahead. Tighten your buttocks a little more. Straighten your chest a little more, and retract your stomach. Unlike ordinary instructions, Qin Haodong had a powerful spirit. He could see every muscle on Ji Fubao's body and accurately instruct him which muscles to relax and which to tighten. Therefore, in less than a minute, Ji Fubao had undergone an earth-shaking change. He had gone from being loose to being as straight as a javelin. Even the military posture of a regular soldier couldn't compare to him. If Yan Feiyu were still there, he would definitely be shocked. It could definitely be called a miracle to be able to teach a soldier like this in such a short period of time. Ji Fubao stood in the first row, while Fang Xiaoping and the others stood in the second row. Seeing his change, the four of them were stunned. In just a minute, the situation had been reversed. In contrast, Ji Fubao was more like a soldier who had been on the battlefield for a long time, while their military posture and momentum were much worse. Qin Haodong ignored their expressions. After instructing Ji Fubao, the next one was Tian Boguang, followed by Dai Hongbing. Under his guidance one by one, the students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class changed from loose students to tall and straight soldiers one by one. In terms of military posture, no team in the entire training ground could compare with them. Perhaps only the long-trained regular army could do so. Soon Qin Haodong came to the end of the row, where four girls stood. Nailin Wushuang had grown up with old master Nailin Jia since she was a child. She was definitely equivalent to half a soldier. She was very familiar with the military posture. Her posture was very standard, and no one could find any flaws. Originally, under her leadership, the other three girls also stood properly. However, when Qin Haodong came over, Qi Weiner suddenly relaxed and said, "Instructor, I haven't grasped the key points of standing in the military posture. Can you teach me how to straighten my chest and lift my butt?" Qin Haodong could see that the girl was deliberately looking for trouble with him. However, there was no other way. Now they pretended not to know each other. They could only patiently guide Qi Weiner. Qi Weiner smiled and said, "Instructor, I still don't know how to lift my butt. Can you help me push it with your hand?" Qin Haodong was speechless. This girl was getting more and more excessive. It was obvious that she was flirting with him. Li Meiyu stood next to him. For some reason, when she saw Qi Weiner flirting with Qin Haodong, she always felt very uncomfortable. She also relaxed her body and shouted, "Instructor, I also don't know how to straighten my chest. Please guide me step by step." What the hell? It's okay to lift your butt, but you also need to guide you step by step to straighten your chest? These two girls are deliberately making trouble for me, aren't they? But I can't do anything about it. Suddenly he had an idea. He took out a silver needle from his pocket, shook it in front of Qi Weiner's eyes and said, "In fact, lifting your butt is very simple. I will stab your butt with a silver needle, and you will immediately feel this feeling." "Instructor, I already know it now." Qi Weiner glared at Qin Haodong fiercely, and then returned to the regular military posture. Chapter 501. Qin Haodong smiled and looked back at Li Meiyu. "Do you have any other questions?" Li Meiyu also glared at him fiercely. "No." After he finished speaking, his already towering chest straightened even more. Qin Haodong glanced at her and secretly swallowed. After eating the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir, this girl had almost grown in size. Now she should be a D-cup. About half an hour later, under Qin Haodong's hands-on guidance, everyone's military posture had been greatly improved. Although they did not have the murderous spirit of soldiers, the overall formation looked no weaker than the regular army. After the military posture, the next step was to stand at attention, rest, turn left and right, walk in step, run and other military subjects. Under Qin Haodong's special teaching method, every student improved very quickly. In the afternoon, Fang Xiaoping, and the other three could no longer see any advantage in the team. The overall movements of the Chinese medicine practitioners class were neat and uniform. They were imposing, and became the most dazzling team in the entire training ground. Ho Wenbin and Duan Balian came to the front of the Chinese medicine practitioners class. After watching for a while, Duan Balian sighed and said, "I'm convinced. What Yin Fei said is true. He can't make the students improve so much in such a short period of time. Even I can't do it." Ho Wenbin smiled proudly. He was a little worried that Qin Haodong would not be able to lead the team after the instructor left. Now it seemed that all his worries were unnecessary. Qin Haodong's ability was beyond his imagination. Duan Balian took 2 steps forward and said to Qin Haodong, "Little Qin, now many college students have entered the army. Are you interested in joining the army? With your quality, I guarantee that you will soon become the king of soldiers and the legend of the army after entering the army." Hearing his words, Ho Wenbin immediately became anxious and cried, "Old Duan, isn't it too unethical to poach from the medical college in front of me?" Duan Balian said, "Talents are rare. It's a pity that little Qin doesn't join the army. If he joins the army, he can make greater contributions to the country." Ho Wenbin said discontentedly, "What are you talking about? You can also get a good development in our medical college. Being a doctor can also save people and contribute to the country. Why do you have to go to your army?" Qin Haodong smiled as he watched the two of them fighting for the position. "Commander Duan, thank you for your kindness, but I'm not interested in joining the army. I'd rather be a doctor." Hearing his words, Ho Wenbin immediately laughed out loud. "Old Duan, how is it? It's not that easy to poach my people." "What a pity." Duan Balian shook his head regretfully, but he still didn't give up and said, "If you ever want to join the army, contact me immediately. I promise to send you to the best army." Qin Haodong smiled and nodded. "If that day comes, I will contact you." Seeing that Duan Balian did not give up on his people, Ho Wenbin immediately pulled him to the other teams to watch, for fear that he would take Qin Haodong away. The Chinese medicine practitioners class continued their training. The main event in the afternoon was strength training. At this time, Qin Haodong had accumulated a considerable amount of prestige in the hearts of the students. He was no less than a regular instructor. "The next subject of our training is push-ups. Each person will do 300 push-ups until they are done. If they are not done, you are not allowed to rest." Hearing this task, many people's faces turned bitter. Most people couldn't even do 10 push-ups. How could they do 300? However, the order had been issued, so they could only obey. Everyone lay on the ground and began the difficult journey of push-ups. The 4 people from the 510 dormitory looked at each other. They had lost in terms of physical fitness and military skills. If they wanted to win the competition with the 508 dormitory, strength was their last card. "Brothers, come on. Bring out our strongest strength." After Fang Xiaoping shouted in a low voice, he leaned over and began his push-ups. It had to be said that this guy's physical fitness was very good. He actually did 80 in one breath. Although Zhang Jichao, Wang Haiqiang, and the others were a little worse than him, their performance was still extremely eye-catching. They had done almost 30 or 40 push-ups. However, when they raised their heads, they were surprised to see Ji Fubao, Tian Buoguang, and Dai Hongbing's bodies constantly moving up and down on the ground. Although their strength was not as good as Qin Haodong's, it was much easier than theirs. 210, 211, 260, 261, 299, 300. Tian Buoguang was the first to complete the 300 push-ups. Although it was not done in one go, it was still quite easy. Dai Hongbing and Ji Fubao were next. They quickly completed the 300 tasks. After eating the physique-improving pill, their strength had been greatly improved. Doing some push-ups was a small matter. Even Nailin Wushuang and the other 3 girls quickly completed their tasks. Fang Xiaoping was completely dumbfounded. He was the strongest in the 510 dormitory, but he had just done 150 push-ups. The most important thing was that his physical strength was almost exhausted. His chest was heaving violently, and he was panting. His arms had begun to tremble. It was almost impossible to challenge the ultimate goal of 300 push-ups, let alone as easily as Ji Fubao and the others. How could this be? Why was this happening? Fang Xiaoping's eyes were full of despair. This time, their dormitory had been defeated. They had been defeated in a terrible way. After calming down for a while, he found that those who could successfully complete the task from beginning to end were all people who were very close to Qin Haodong. Not to mention the 508 dormitory. Even Li Meiyu and the other 3 girls performed better than them. What was going on? Although the 510 dormitory lost to the 508 dormitory in the end, it was still considered a very good performance among the many students. At this time, the other students were in a worse situation. After most of the day's training, their physical strength was almost exhausted. Coupled with the high-intensity push-ups, there were only a few who could do 10. Many of them lay on the ground panting after completing a few. 300 was an impossible task for them, no matter what they did. Qin Haodong stepped towards a student who was lying on the ground panting. His name was Wang Xiaoming. Just now, he had used all his strength, but he only did 8 push-ups. After seeing him, Wang Xiaoming said with some embarrassment, "Instructor, I really can't do it anymore. Even if you kill me, I can't do 300. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I don't need to kill you. I'll just relax your muscles. You can definitely do it." As he spoke, he placed his hands on Wang Xiaoming's back and began to perform a massage technique on him. The greenwood genuine qi and his unique massage technique moisturized every muscle in Wang Xiaoming's body. After a few presses, his fatigue was swept away. Just now he was as tired as mud, but now he was suddenly full of strength. "Instructor, I'll try again." After Wang Xiaoming said that, he began to do push-ups on the ground again. Compared with the previous exhaustion, he was now full of vigor. His body was moving up and down, full of explosive strength. The first time he only did 8. Now after Qin Haodong's massage, he did 50 in one breath. Although he still couldn't reach the number of 300, he believed that he could definitely complete the task after a few more times. "Instructor, how did you do it?" Wang Xiaoming looked at Qin Haodong with eyes full of admiration. Of course, he didn't think that it was his own strength. It must have something to do with Qin Haodong's massage just now. Nothing, some family massage techniques. After Qin Haodong said that, he began to massage another student next to him. The effect of the greenwood genuine qi was really magical. Under its nourishment, the strength of the students who had been massaged was greatly improved. Originally, they could only do 7 or 8 push-ups, but now they could do 70 or 80 at one time. It was really incredible, but it was really happening. After discovering the magic of Qin Haodong's massage technique, the students rushed to him for a massage. Looking at the lively scene here, Qi Weiner smiled and said, "If I had known it would be like this, we wouldn't have finished the push-ups. We could have enjoyed this guy's massage service. It's a pity that we don't have this opportunity now." Li Meiyu suddenly remembered the scene of Qin Haodong massaging her feet, and her face became hot for no reason. "Boss, I can't do it anymore. I really can't do it anymore." Li Guojun's physical strength was the worst. He barely did 150 push-ups. At this time, he was lying on the ground like a dog, panting and almost spitting out his tongue. After a few more heavy breaths, he hesitantly looked at Fang Xiaoping and said, "Boss, why don't we also go to the instructor's place to have a massage? The effect of the others is very good. Half of them have already finished the 300 push-ups, and they still look energetic." Fang Xiaoping's face darkened. Everyone knew that the 510 dormitory and the 508 dormitory were at odds. If they went to ask Qin Haodong for a massage now, it would be equivalent to directly bowing their heads and admitting defeat. Wang Haiqiang followed and said, "Boss, we have already lost this game. There is no need to carry on. The most important thing now is to improve our strength. I think it's okay to go and have a massage. We are all classmates. Why do we have to be enemies?" The two of them had stood on the opposite side of Qin Haodong before because of Fang Xiaoping. Now, after a day of training, they had been completely convinced by Qin Haodong, and their previous hostility was gone. Fang Xiaoping sighed and did not speak. Li Guojun and Wang Haiqiang did not ask for his opinion again. They went directly to Qin Haodong's side to receive a massage. Originally, the two of them were still a little nervous. They were worried that Qin Haodong would mock them and refuse to give them a massage. But soon they found that Qin Haodong treated them equally. The way he looked at them was no different from the way he looked at other students. Only then did they feel relieved. In fact, the two of them were overthinking. How could the dignified Emperor Greenwood care about two small figures like them? With their strength, they were not even worthy of being Qin Haodong's enemy. After the massage, the two of them immediately felt full of strength. They completed the rest of the task in a few seconds. Zhang Jichao barely managed to do 200 push-ups. He really couldn't move anymore. He felt as if his whole body was about to fall apart. He looked at Fang Xiaoping, hesitated for a moment and said, "Boss, I don't know what you are thinking, but I am convinced." Yesterday, I was not convinced. I thought that his punch was a sneak attack on me. Now it seems that it was not. He even showed mercy. Qin Haodong's ability is much greater than ours. We are not on the same level at all. We can't compare even if we want to. Let's forget about it. Fang Xiaoping glanced at him and said, "You also want to go, don't you?" Zhang Jichao nodded and said, "I think Qiangzi is right. We are all classmates. There is no need to be so stiff." Chapter 502. Under everyone's gaze, Fang Xiaoping and Zhang Jichao came to Qin Haodong together. "Class monitor, we officially admit defeat in the competition between our dormitory 510 and dormitory 508. Fang Xiaoping was the first to speak. He was sincerely convinced by the title of class monitor. Zhang Jichao followed and said, "Class monitor, I was wrong before. I formally apologize to you and Dai Hongbing. I'm sorry." This apology came from the bottom of his heart. He was now completely convinced by Qin Haodong. All the students' eyes shifted to Qin Haodong. They wanted to see how he would deal with the two losers. After all, Fang Xiaoping's dormitory's provocation was obvious to all. Qin Haodong stared at the two of them for a full 10 seconds. Then he burst into laughter. "We're all classmates. What competition? It's just a joke. Let bygones be bygones." He was a person who didn't like trouble. Since Fang Xiaoping and the others were completely convinced, there was no need for him to hold on to it. After all, these people were not much stronger than ants in his eyes. From this moment on, there were no more discordant voices in the Chinese medicine practitioners class. Qin Haodong, the class monitor, had established 100% prestige. The military training was carried out in an orderly manner. In the blink of an eye, the 8th day of training had ended. Although it was not the final competition, the Chinese medicine practitioners class was already the champion in the hearts of all the classes. In terms of physical fitness, they were already out of breath after running 2 or 3 kilometers every morning. However, the Chinese medicine practitioners class ran 10,000 meters every day, and it looked extremely easy. In terms of strength, each of them could do 50 push-ups, but the Chinese medicine practitioners class could do 500 push-ups per person. Even the female students were no exception. In terms of military skills, in front of the Chinese medicine practitioners class, they were more like the regular army, while they were more like the militia. All in all, although there was no final competition, the champion had already been born. There was no other way. It was useless to be jealous. Who told them not to have such an awesome instructor? As night fell, Zhong Anguo was sitting gloomily in a luxury private room of a hotel not far from the Shanghai Medical College. The private room was very large, and there were a lot of wine and dishes on the table. However, there were only 2 people sitting opposite him. A young man about 20 years old was sitting opposite him. Although this person was not as tall as Zhong Anguo, only about 1.75 meters tall, he looked very strong. At first glance, it was obvious that he was a person who often engaged in sports. His name was Fan Lihai, the captain of the Shanghai Medical College's football team. He and Zhong Anguo used to be fair-weather friends. "Dahai, have you heard about what happened to me?" Zhong Anguo said with a cold expression. His eyes were full of hatred. Because of Qin Haodong, he was not only expelled from school, but also put in detention. He had just been released. I've heard. Family Hai nodded. Zhongnongwa said, Dahai, I want you to help me. Family Hai said, Dagwa, don't joke around. What can I do if even you and your uncle can't handle him? You're right. That kid has the Zhou family behind him. We can't afford to offend them. Zhongnongwa said fiercely. But I can't swallow it. Since we can't do it openly, we can do it secretly. Family Hai said, Dagwa, to tell you the truth, I'll graduate in another year. I just want to be safe. It's not that I'm not loyal, but I really can't do it. Although he was very famous in the medical college and had done a lot of fighting, he couldn't compare with Zhongnongwa in any aspect. Now, even Zhongnongwa couldn't afford to offend someone, but he wanted him to stand up for him. It was obvious that he was cheating. As if seeing through his mind, Zhongnongwa said, Dahai, we've been friends for so many years. I can't cheat you. There are some things that we can do openly, and no one can find any fault with. Family Hai glanced at him and said, What do you mean? On the football field, there are countless people whose legs are broken every year. This is a normal sports injury. It's not illegal, and no one can say anything. As he spoke, Zhongnongwa took out a bundle of 100,000 yuan from his backpack and put it on the table. I want Qin Haodong's legs. Family Hai hesitated for a moment and said, Dagwa, it's not about money. I really can't do it. I'm a senior now. If I'm really expelled from school, all these years of studying will be in vain. Zhongnongwa's face darkened and he said discontentedly, Dahai, don't forget that you hurt someone 2 years ago. If I hadn't helped you settle it, you would have been expelled from school long ago. Would you have waited until today? Family Hai didn't say anything. He was not a good guy either. He had been fighting hard all these years. He had done a lot of bad things in school, and he did owe Zhongnongwa a favor. Zhongnongwa took out a large bundle of 100,000 yuan from his backpack. I'll give you another 100,000 yuan, and I promise that whether you can graduate or not, you can work in my second uncle's hospital. This time, Family Hai was tempted. Money was a good thing, and no one would complain about having too much. Moreover, he was just a sports student at the medical college. It was not easy to find a job after graduation. Zhongnongwa's second uncle had a good-sized private hospital in Shanghai. If he could work there, it would save him some worries. Moreover, if he did what Zhongnongwa said and broke Qin Haodong's legs on the football field, he would at most have to pay some medical expenses. There would not be too much trouble. After weighing the pros and cons, Family Hai said, Well, I'll do this job. Don't forget your promise. Zhongnongwa said, Don't worry. This is nothing to me. As long as you can cripple that guy's legs and help me vent my anger, it'll be fine. Family Hai nodded and stuffed the 2 bundles of money into his backpack. He turned around and walked out of the hotel's private room. After the 9th day of military training, everyone was very excited. Tomorrow, they would say goodbye to military training and welcome a new college life. After Qin Haodong's Chinese medicine practitioner class finished training, he was about to dismiss it when he saw more than a dozen people coming over. These people were wearing sportswear, but they all looked unruly. The leader was Family Hai. He came to the front of the Chinese medicine practitioner class and looked at Nalan Wushuang and the other girls unscrupulously. Then he said to Qin Haodong, Boy, I heard that you're the monitor of this class? Qin Haodong said, Yes, what's the matter? Family Hai raised his hand and pointed at Nalan Wushuang and the others, saying, You're lucky. These girls in your class are all beautiful. But from now on, these girls belong to our football team. No one in your class can touch them. No one can even think about it. Do you hear me? Who the hell are you? Why did you come to our Chinese medicine practitioner class to pretend? Are you asking for a beating? Before Qin Haodong could speak, Zhi Fubao jumped out. Although he had lost 70 to 80 kilograms these days, he still looked very strong and much more flexible than before. At this moment, in his eyes, these 4 female classmates were all his boss's women. This brat who jumped out of nowhere actually dared to have designs on his boss's women. That was equivalent to making things difficult for him, fat bro. Fang Xiaoping quietly came to Qin Haodong's side and whispered, Boss, this guy is a senior. His name is Family Hai, and he is the captain of the football team. He is famous for being overbearing in school. He has a group of people under him, and no one dares to provoke him. Since the reconciliation last time, he had become more and more impressed with Qin Haodong, so he changed the way he addressed him to boss. Although they were both freshmen, Fang Xiaoping grew up in the medical college, so he was very familiar with the school's situation. He was afraid that Qin Haodong would be at a disadvantage, because he didn't know Fan Lihai well. So he immediately came over to make an introduction. Qin Haodong nodded. He didn't care who the man was, or what he did. Fan Lihai looked at Ji Fubao with disdain and said, "Do you want to fight, boy? Your military training isn't over yet. If you fight, you'll be expelled." Qin Haodong pulled Ji Fubao back and said, "Tell me, what do you want?" Fan Lihai wanted Qin Haodong to say this. He said, "I know you guys are not convinced. Do you dare to play with us? If we lose, we'll turn around and leave. If you lose, you'll give up the 4 little girls in the future." Ji Fubao had always been aggressive. In addition, his physique had been greatly improved recently. He immediately shouted unwillingly, "Let's compete. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Fan Lihai ignored him and looked directly at Qin Haodong. The others were not important. Qin Haodong was his ultimate goal. Qin Haodong said, "We can compete, but we can't bet. The female students in our class are free. They don't belong to anyone, so you can't use them as a bet. Yes, as long as you dare to play with us, the 4 little girls will naturally see who is the real man." Fan Lihai wanted to play with Qin Haodong and then find an opportunity to break his legs. The female students were just an excuse, so he didn't care. Fang Xiaoping said, "We can play, but who will be the referee?" Fan Lihai said, "I can invite a teacher from the sports department." "No need. I'll be the referee for you." Duan Balian had walked over at some point. He stepped forward and said, "I'm a national A-level coach. When I was in the army, I often served as a football referee. My level is quite good." Qin Haodong said, "Then I'll have to trouble you, Commander Duan." The referee was already in place. The football field was ready-made. Both sides began to summon the players for the game. To Fan Lihai's disappointment, Qin Haodong did not play. This was not surprising. He had never played football, and didn't even know the rules of football. So he was a coach outside the field. The main players on the field were 3 people from the 508 dormitory, 4 from the 510 dormitory, and a few other students who were good at football. Although he was a little disappointed, he had already proposed a game. Fan Lihai could only go on. A few minutes later, the football game between the 2 sides officially began on the field. After these days of training, the students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class had greatly improved their physical fitness. They ran on the field as if they were flying. They were very enthusiastic, but their playing skills were incomparable to those brought by Fan Lihai. They were all members of the school team. They were skilled and had a tacit understanding with each other. Soon they suppressed the Chinese medicine practitioners class. At the end of the first half, Fan Lihai's side gained an absolute advantage of 3 o'clock. "Boss, I've embarrassed you," Ji Fubao said dejectedly. It turned out that playing football still relied on skills. It was useless to have good physical strength. "It doesn't matter. I'll play in the second half. Let's get back at them together." After 40 minutes of learning, Qin Haodong had basically mastered the rules of football. Seeing that his side was falling behind, he played in the second half and replaced the goalkeeper on his side. He knew his own strength. He had never been on the field before and had no experience. In contrast, being a goalkeeper was more suitable than playing in the front. The other students of the Chinese medicine practitioners class did not know about this situation. After seeing Qin Haodong play, they immediately cheered out of trust, and their confidence greatly increased. Fan Lihai stepped on the football and sneered, "Boy, you're finally on the field." Chapter 503. With Duan Balian's whistle, the second half of the game officially began. Soon Qin Haodong got a goal ball. He weighed the ball in his hand. He had been busy studying in junior high and high school. After he got to university, he used his spare time to work. This was his first time playing football. He put the ball on the ground and kicked it out. He used a lot of strength, but he didn't control the direction well. The ball flew out of the sidelines like a cannonball. Ha! A lot of students gathered around the field. They immediately burst into laughter when they saw the kick. Fan Lehai's players were laughing their heads off. They could tell from the kick that Qin Haodong didn't know how to play football at all. No wonder he didn't play in the first half. Qin Haodong didn't care at all. With the strength of his spirit, he could completely master how to play football in 2 or 3 kicks. He hoped that the other party could still laugh. The game continued. Soon, Fan Lehai's side got the ball. As the captain of the school's football team, his skills were indeed outstanding. Soon, he broke through the last line of defense of the Chinese medicine practitioners class and directly faced Qin Haodong. Fan Lehai went straight to the point. He dribbled the ball to a place not far from Qin Haodong and gently made a feint with his left foot. As he expected, although the young man in front of him had outstanding physical fitness, he didn't have much experience playing football. He was immediately fooled. When Qin Haodong pounced to the left, he gently lifted his right foot and kicked a beautiful outer spin ball to the other side of the goal. In his opinion, this kick was a sure kill. After he kicked it, he didn't even look at it. He turned around and began to run to celebrate his victory. But before he could run far, he suddenly realized that the situation was not right. He saw Ji Fubao rushing towards him with the football, and no one on his side cheered and celebrated with him. On the contrary, they entered a tense defensive state. What's going on? What's going on? I didn't hear the referee's whistle. Why is the ball starting again? What he didn't know was that although the feint had fooled Qin Haodong, the ball still didn't go in. Qin Haodong made a move that no one expected. He abruptly turned his body in midair and pounced on the football he kicked out. The onlookers were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Even the world's top goalkeepers couldn't do such a difficult move. But the student in front of them had done it. It wasn't until Ji Fubao dribbled the ball past half of the court that these people came to their senses and burst into cheers. Especially Nailan Wushuang and Li Meiyu. Although there were only 4 of them, they led countless male creatures to cheer for Qin Haodong's wonderful performance. The shouts were earth-shattering, and the earth was shaking. After Fan Lehai figured out what was going on, he hurriedly led people to organize a defense, but it was already too late. Ji Fubao and Tian Boguang made a clever cooperation. In the end, Tian Boguang passed the ball to Fang Xiaoping, who was in front of him. Fang Xiaoping shot the ball into the goal. It was 3-1. The Chinese medicine practitioners class had finally won a goal. There was a thunderous applause by the side of the field. This time, the performance of the Chinese medicine practitioners class was really wonderful. It started with Qin Haodong's magical save, followed by the ingenious cooperation of the 3 people, which not only showed their strength, but also showed the unity among the team members. Fan Lehai's face was frighteningly gloomy. He didn't expect his sure goal to be saved by the opponent. It seemed that he had been too careless. Duan Bailian whistled, and the football was sent out from the center line again. Fan Lehai's side was worthy of being a member of the school team. They didn't panic because of the loss of the ball just now. They continued to attack in an orderly manner. A few minutes later, Fan Lehai took the ball in front of the goal again and got a great opportunity. He saw that Qin Haodong's position was slightly to the left and directly flicked the football to the top right corner of the goal. The kick was very beautiful. It drew a beautiful arc and went straight to the dead corner of the goal. Let's see if you can still pounce this time. Seeing that the football was going straight to the dead corner of the goal, Fan Lehai had already determined that the ball would go in. He turned around again and began to run to celebrate. This time, he learned the way a certain national football player celebrated and made a posture of bending a bow and shooting an eagle. However, he soon discovered that the students around him didn't applaud or cheer. On the contrary, they looked at him in a dumbfounded manner. They looked at him in a forced manner. What's going on? Did it not go in again? When he turned around, he saw that the football was already in Qin Haodong's hands. Then there were warm cheers and applause from the sidelines, but it had nothing to do with him. It was all for Qin Haodong's wonderful save. What the hell? Fan Lihai had played football for so many years and had seen many good goalkeepers and wonderful saves. However, his kick just now went straight to the dead corner. Even the best goalkeeper couldn't have saved it. Moreover, Qin Haodong was only 180 meters tall. But in fact he had saved the ball. It could be said to be a miracle. If they continued to play like this, how could the game go on? Fortunately, they still had a 2-goal lead. No matter how good the goalkeeper was, as long as his side didn't concede the goal, they could still win the game. While he was thinking, Qin Haodong had already kicked the football out. No one had ever taken the goalkeeper's kick seriously. Moreover, judging from Qin Haodong's kick just now, this guy's footwork was not very good. But this time, Qin Haodong shocked the audience again. His kick was powerful and flew straight to the opponent's goal. F***ck, this guy is actually going to shoot. The opponent's goalkeeper stood very close to the front. When he reacted, he ran back like crazy, but it was too late. No matter how fast he was, it was impossible for him to be faster than the ball in the air. With a poof, the football went into the net. Duan Balian whistled and announced that the goal was valid. The score on the field changed to 3-2. Whether it was Qin Haodong's save or this super long shot, they were all world-class. The students watching on the sidelines were going crazy and cheered hoarsely. Qin Haodong, you're so great. I love you. I love you so much. Qin Haodong, I want to marry you. I want to have babies with you. Qin Haodong, one more goal and I'll have sex with you. Seeing that the situation had reversed, Fan Lihai punched the ground fiercely. His 2 killer shots were saved. On the contrary, his side also lost 2 goals. Their lead was only 1 point. However, he was the captain of the football team after all. He was also experienced and knew that he couldn't go on like this. He immediately gathered his team members to stabilize and rearrange the tactics. They had to play steadily and stabilize their defense first. At least, they had to ensure that they didn't lose any more goals. The game started again. Fan Lihai slowly stabilized the situation and relied on his skills to regain the advantage on the field. Not only did they stabilize their defense, but they also attacked the Chinese medicine practitioners' class goal one after another. However, with a goalie like Qin Haodong, how could they shoot in? No matter how fast and tricky the shots were, they were all saved without exception. During this period of time, the game had become Qin Haodong's personal performance. His wonderful saves won wave after wave of applause. It was obvious that the Chinese medicine practitioners' class was being suppressed, but they were in high spirits because they had a super goalkeeper. They didn't have to worry about their goal at all. Looking at Qin Haodong, who was like a battery, Fan Lihai was going crazy. Not only was the game extremely depressing, but he also couldn't find any opportunity to kick. After all, the other party was only a goalkeeper. He couldn't just run over and break the other party's legs. Seeing that the end of the game was approaching, the Chinese medicine practitioners' class was still behind by a goal, 2-3. After such a long game, Qin Haodong had completely mastered the way to play football. After getting the goal ball again, he suddenly kicked out. The corner kick was high and fast, passing all the opposing defenders. The opposing goalkeeper immediately became nervous and hurriedly prepared to save, but he found that the ball didn't shoot towards the goal. Instead, it fell to the side of the calabash. This wasn't a shot, but a super long pass with an excellent landing point. Fang Xiaoping, who was originally standing in line with the opposing defender, quickly moved and easily took the ball. He beautifully broke through the opponent's defense with an offside position and directly faced the goalkeeper. Because the goalkeeper had just been preparing to save, he stood too far back and had lost the opportunity to control the goal. Fang Xiaoping lifted his leg and shot angrily. The ball slammed into the corner of the goal. The score of the game was 3-3. Long live Qin Haodong. World-class super assist. Qin Haodong, good job. I love you. I love you to death. Although Fang Xiaoping was the one who scored the goal, most people still cheered for Qin Haodong. Fang Xiaoping smiled. There was no jealousy in his heart. The difficulty of this coordinated pass was definitely higher than scoring the goal. The pass just now was too good. When he landed, he directly took the ball and faced the goalkeeper. There was no extra action. Even if it was someone else, they could also score. Damn it, this bastard. Fan Lehigh was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't break the opponent's goal, and he couldn't find a chance to tackle Qin Haodong's legs. He had worked hard for nothing today. Time passed bit by bit. There was only 1 minute left until the end of the game. The two sides were still tied at 1-1. At this time, the Chinese medicine practitioner's class was in danger in front of the goal. They were being pressured by Fan Lehigh and his people. Tian Buguang desperately grabbed the ball from the opponent's striker and passed it back to Qin Haodong. In everyone's opinion, Qin Haodong would definitely pick up the ball and use the rules to reasonably finish the game. After all, the opponent was the medical university team. For them, a draw was the victory of the game. However, they never expected that Qin Haodong didn't take the ball. Instead, he dribbled the ball and gave up his own goal. He quickly dribbled the ball and rushed to the opponent's goal. Dumbfounded. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was he cutting off all means of retreat or suicide? At this time, the goalkeeper rashly attacked. As long as the opponent had the ball, the Chinese medicine practitioner's class would definitely lose. Come back quickly. Guarding the goal is more important. Hurry up and kick the ball out of bounds. It's too dangerous. Many people shouted, but Qin Haodong didn't care at all. He continued to dribble the ball all the way and rushed directly into the opponent's half of the field. The players on the other side came back to their senses and rushed forward to intercept the ball. However, Qin Haodong cleverly broke through them. Fan Lehigh gritted his teeth. Compared to the game, his task was more important. Thinking of this, he flew over. When he came behind Qin Haodong, his feet made a big flying shovel and fiercely shoveled Qin Haodong's ankle. This kick was obviously aimed at the person and not the ball. If an ordinary person was shoveled by him, they would definitely break their tendons and bones. They would probably be crippled for the rest of their lives. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. No one thought that Fan Lehigh would use such a shameless method. The referee Duan Bailian was still very experienced. When he saw this scene, he immediately blew the whistle in his mouth and paused the game. However, although the game could be paused, Fan Lehigh's actions could not be stopped. His feet still fiercely shoveled over. When the 2 feet met, the sound of bones cracking resounded throughout the field. Chapter 504. After a miserable scream, Fan Lehigh fell on the field and rolled around on the ground with his legs in his arms. Qin Haodong sneered. He had already felt this guy's killing intent just now. Did he want to cripple his legs? Dream on. How could he kick the legs of a martial artist at the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm? After Duan Bailian blew the whistle, he immediately rushed over with his men. Originally, he wanted to save Qin Haodong. It would be a pity if such a military genius's legs were broken. After arriving at the scene, he was surprised to find that it was not Qin Haodong who had broken his legs, but Fan Lehigh who had shoved him from behind. What's going on? How come the shovel is fine, but the shovel guy's legs are broken? The people around were very surprised. No one had expected this result. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Referee, this has nothing to do with me. He suddenly shoved me from behind. I don't know what happened. I saw it all." Duan Bailian breathed a sigh of relief and began to perform his duties as a referee. He persuaded other irrelevant people to leave the field, then took out a red card from his pocket and sent Fan Lehigh, whose legs were broken, off the field. This was the medical university, so there was no shortage of doctors. 2 people immediately came over and carried Fan Lehigh to the sidelines with a stretcher. Qin Haodong asked Duan Bailian, "How much time is left?" Duan Bailian looked at his watch and said, "There are 15 seconds left." Qin Haodong smiled and said, 15 seconds is enough. Let's continue." "What do you mean? Does he still want to win this game? Even if there is one more person, I'm afraid he can't win. After all, the time is too short. Although the other side is short of one person, It is the school team. No matter how good Qin Haodong is, he can't win. While the discussion was going on, Duan Balian restarted the game. Qin Haodong took the free kick. He did not kick the ball out, but directly rushed to the goal again. The members of the school team were going crazy. If the other side still won, then they would not be able to stay on the team in the future. These people came to stop Qin Haodong. They did not need to grab the ball. They just needed to delay the game. Qin Haodong passed 2 more people in succession. At this time, he was about 30 meters away from the goal. 15 seconds passed in a flash. Just as Duan Balian was about to blow the whistle in his mouth, Qin Haodong shot the ball. The ball was like a fired cannonball, shooting towards the opponent's goal at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the whistle to end the game sounded. Everyone's eyes followed the ball and turned to the goal in the distance. The goalkeeper of the school team was ready. The angle of Qin Haodong's kick was not tricky, and the distance was far, so the goalkeeper had enough time to react. When the ball reached the front of the door, the goalkeeper jumped and reached out to hold the ball in his arms. Everyone let out a sigh. After all, it was a draw. The Chinese medicine practitioners class did not win the competition. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, he was only one person and could not create a miracle. But just as they began to sigh, before they could make a sound, an unexpected scene happened. The fast-flying ball did not slow down and flew into the goal along with the goalkeeper, who was in midair into the net. This kind of scene that had only appeared in the movie Shaolin Football was actually played out in front of everyone. 4-3. The Chinese medicine practitioners class won the football game. However, Duan Balian was also dumbfounded and had forgotten to announce the result of the game. Oh my God, what did I see? He even kicked the goalkeeper into the goal. How much strength does that take? Idol, this is my idol. He's so handsome. Quickly pinch me. Is this a dream or not? When everyone came back to their senses, Duan Balian whistled and announced that the Chinese medicine practitioners class had won the game. Ji Fubao, Tian Boguang, Dai Hongbing, and the people from Fang Xiaoping's dormitory 510 rushed towards Qin Haodong. They lifted him up high and threw him into the sky. Cheers and shouts resounded throughout the training ground. Fan Lihai looked at all of this with a dull expression. He even forgot the pain in his legs. He was the captain of the school team and wanted to step on Qin Haodong through a game. In the end, he failed to step on Qin Haodong and was praised to the sky. He wanted to use vicious fouls on each other to tackle and break Qin Haodong's legs. In the end, nothing happened to Qin Haodong, but both of his legs were broken. What the hell was going on? What did I do wrong? With confusion and helplessness, he was carried to the ambulance and sent to the hospital. What Fan Lihai didn't know was that the football game he had brought had greatly improved the morale of the Chinese medicine practitioners class. They won the championship in one fell swoop in the military training competition the next day, drawing a perfect end to the 10-day military training. After the military training, the freshmen changed their military uniforms and rushed out of the campus to express their inner excitement, as if they were celebrating a festival. Li Meiyu pulled Qin Haodong and said, "The damn military training is finally over. I'm going to your house and have a good swim. I'm so bored." Qi Weiner said, "I heard that your house is very big and there are many empty rooms. Can Sister Wushuang and I live there?" With her back facing Li Meiyu, she winked at Qin Haodong. "Okay, the more the merrier." Of course, Qin Haodong wouldn't refuse. With Naylan Wushuang and Qi Weiner living there, he didn't have to stay at home to guard Li Meiyu all the time. Under many envious and jealous eyes, Qin Haodong left the university gate with the 3 goddesses of countless people and returned to his villa. "Brother, you're back." After not seeing Qin Haodong for 10 days, Jia Shirhan was very excited to see him. Qin Haodong nodded and introduced her and Naylan Wushuang to him. Jia Shirhan took Naylan Wushuang and Qin Weiner to visit upstairs and downstairs. Li Meiyu pulled Qin Haodong and said, "What's wrong with you? You're bringing girls home again." She was very depressed. This guy clearly said that he would pursue her, but he didn't show it at all these days. Couples were looking for opportunities to spend time with each other, But he called 2 girls back today. What was he going to do? It was obvious that he didn't take her seriously. At first, she took Qin Haodong's pursuit as a joke, and had never taken it seriously. But now there was a kind of jealousy in her heart. Out of a woman's sixth sense, she always felt that the relationship between Naylan Wushuang and Qi Weiner and Qin Haodong was strange, which made her feel unspeakably awkward. Qin Haodong said awkwardly, "Anyway, there are many houses at home. It's more lively with more people." Li Meiyu said discontentedly, "If there are so many houses, why do you only bring girls back? Why don't you bring Ji Fubao and the others back?" I'm afraid that it will be inconvenient for you to bring back men." Qin Haodong knew that he had too many hidden enemies, so he didn't want Ji Fubao, Tian Buoguang, and the others to get too involved in his life. This would bring them unnecessary danger. Li Meiyu said angrily, "You're still a man. Why aren't you afraid that it will be inconvenient for us?" Qin Haodong said embarrassedly, "You can treat me as a woman." "You," Li Meiyu pouted angrily. At this time, Jia Shirhan, Naylan Wushuang and Qi Weiner finished visiting the house and returned to the living room together. "Sister Meiyu, Haodong's swimming pool is so big and beautiful. Let's go swimming together." After Qi Weiner finished speaking, she took Li Meiyu to the room to change clothes. Naylan Wushuang said to Jia Shirhan, "Sister Shirhan, let's go together." Jia Shirhan said with some embarrassment, "Forget it. I didn't prepare a swimsuit." "It doesn't matter. I brought several sets. Our figures are about the same, so I can give you one." After that, the two of them went back to the room together. Qin Haodong shook his head. There were really more and more women in his family. He made himself a cup of tea, sat on the sofa, and picked up the teacup. Before he could drink the tea, his expression suddenly froze. He saw the door open and Naylan Wushuang, and the others came out one after another. 4 top-grade beauties, 4 beautiful bikinis, 8 long and slender legs, coupled with perky peaks and bottomless ravines, gave people a kind of shocking beauty. As long as it was a normal man, they would freeze. They came to Qin Haodong gracefully. Only Jia Shirhan, who was wearing a swimsuit for the first time, was a little uncomfortable. Her cheeks were red, and this kind of shyness made her look even more attractive. Looking at Qin Haodong's silly appearance, Li Meiyu said with dissatisfaction, "What are you looking at? Have you never seen a beautiful woman before?" Qi Weiner said with a smile, "Qin Haodong, let's go swimming together, okay?" As she said that, she also made a gesture of invitation by bowing her head. Wearing a bikini and making such a pose, Qin Haodong was dizzy and his nostrils were hot, as if he was in danger of bleeding at any time. The most important thing was that the second leader's self-control was too poor. At this time he had begun to move. In order to prevent an embarrassing scene, Qin Haodong quickly said, "You go swimming. I just remembered that I still have something to do. I'll go out for a while." After that, he put down the teacup and ran out, not caring about the tea that had not yet reached his mouth. After going out, he patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. It was really torturous to guard these 4 beautiful women, who could only be seen but not touched every day. Walking out of the villa area, he got in a taxi and said to the driver, "Master, I want to buy some jewelry in jade. Where do you think is suitable?" The driver said, "If you want to buy these things in Shanghai, of course, you should go to Shue's Jewelry." As he said that, he started the car and drove forward. "What? Is Shue's Jewelry very big?" Lin's group was about to expand its jewelry industry to Shanghai. What he needed to do now was to learn as much as possible about his opponent. Of course, Shue's Jewelry is also a time-honored brand. It is the largest jewelry store in Shanghai. There is no jewelry you can't buy there. The driver was very talkative. He introduced the situation of Shue's Jewelry to Qin Haodong while driving. 10 minutes later, the taxi stopped in front of a magnificent jewelry store. This was the most famous Shue's Jewelry store in Shanghai. "Here we are, sir. This is the place." Qin Haodong paid the driver and got out of the car. He looked up at the Shue's Jewelry store. Just as he was about to step into the door, he suddenly saw a building opposite the jewelry store. This was a commercial building that had just been completed. It was quiet inside, and no merchants had moved in yet. This building was opposite the Shui's jewelry store. In terms of location, it was in the most prosperous area of Shanghai. If Lin's group could open a jewelry store here, it would be perfect. After carefully examining this commercial building, he turned around and entered the Shui's jewelry store. Just as the taxi driver said, this was the largest jewelry store in Shanghai. It was a century-old store with all kinds of jewelry, gold, silver, jade, diamonds, and emeralds. The jewelry store was divided into 5 floors. As the floors rose, the quality of the jade continued to increase, and the price was also rising. When Qin Haodong arrived at the 5th floor, there were a lot fewer customers. The price of any product was more than 6 digits. Those who dared to come here were all successful people with a lot of money. Chapter 505. Qin Haodong wandered around on the 5th floor, looking at the goods one by one. The sportswear he was wearing was only worth a few hundred yuan. He looked out of place among the successful people in suits and leather shoes around him. From time to time, he would attract strange looks. But he didn't care. What he wanted to do was to thoroughly understand the quality and price of Shui's jewelry. The business world was like a battlefield. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win every battle. Qin Haodong looked at the goods differently from others. He only needed to scan with his powerful spirit to know the quality. He didn't need to hold the goods in his hands at all. However, in the eyes of others, he looked more like a country bumpkin who couldn't afford it. Suddenly, his gaze fell on a jade guanyin pendant. What a dense spiritual qi. This is a jade crystal. Generally speaking, there was not much difference between jade crystal and ordinary jade. The only difference was that jade crystal could contain more spiritual qi, so it was perfect for engraving arrays. However, ordinary people would not be able to tell, so it was difficult for ordinary jade appraisers to distinguish between jade and crystal. Obviously, this jewelry appraiser did not see that it was a jade crystal. A well-carved guanyin jade crystal pendant was only priced at 800,000 yuan. If it was in the hands of a cultivator, it would be worth at least more than 10 million yuan. Since there was such a big bargain, Qin Haodong certainly would not let it go. He pointed to the guanyin pendant and said to the waiter, "Miss, please show me it." "Okay, please wait a moment." The waiter opened the sliding door of the counter and reached out to take out the pendant. At this time, there was a sudden scolding from the side. "What are you doing? I say, do you have a brain? Do you want to show anyone who wants to see it? Aren't you afraid of those poor bastards swapping our stuff?" When the waiter heard the shout, he immediately stopped and turned to look in the direction of the voice. Qin Haodong also turned his head and saw a middle-aged man in a suit coming over. There was a sign on his chest that said Sales Manager Ma Guanghui. When he got close, Ma Guanghui glanced at Qin Haodong with disdain. He turned to the waiter and scolded again. "How many times have I told you? You must keep your eyes open when you work and see what kind of customers are." Such an expensive thing was casually shown to others. What if it was swapped? Even if I sold you, you wouldn't be able to afford it. The waiter lowered his head and said, "I'm sorry, manager. I got it." Looking down on people with snobbish eyes, bullying customers with a big shop. Qin Haodong frowned. He used to see this kind of melodramatic plot in movies and TV series, but he didn't expect to encounter it himself. He looked at Ma Guanghui and said, "You mean I'm a liar?" Ma Guanghui said sarcastically, "I don't know if you're a liar or not, but I know that you can't afford the things here. Just enjoy the view. Don't make trouble for us, or I'll call security." He really didn't take Qin Haodong seriously. How could a person who was worth less than 800 yuan afford something worth 800,000 yuan? Is this how the people of Shui's jewelry treat customers? There was a trace of anger in Qin Haodong's heart, but then he was relieved. With such a sales manager, it would be easier to defeat Shui's jewelry in the future. Ma Guanghui said, "We definitely wouldn't treat our customers like this, but you are not our customer. If you want to see the goods, you can pay first." "Pay first, then look at the goods? Your Shui's jewelry is really something." Qin Haodong smiled. But he didn't want to talk nonsense with this kind of person. He directly took out his bank card and said, "Then pay. I want this pendant." Ma Guanghui said sarcastically, "Are you sure there's money in this card? Cut the crap and swipe the card," Qin Haodong said, and directly threw the bank card to the waiter. The waiter took the bank card and swiped it on the POS machine. There was a beep, and then a receipt was printed. The payment was successful, which meant that there was indeed 800,000 yuan in Qin Haodong's card. Ma Minghui was a little dumbfounded. Did this young man in street clothes really have that much money? How was that possible? Qin Haodong didn't even look at him. He said to the waiter, "Can you give me that pendant now?" "Yes, sir, please wait a moment." The waiter quickly took out the guanyin pendant. Now that the payment had been successful, the pendant was already Qin Haodong's in terms of ownership. Qin Haodong took the pendant in his hand and looked at it. He nodded with satisfaction. This was a real jade crystal. When he went back and engraved 2 formations in it, it would definitely be a good thing worth more than 100 million yuan. Just as he was about to put the pendant in his pocket, suddenly someone next to him shouted, "Cousin, this pendant is so beautiful. I want it." Qin Haodong turned his head and saw a fat middle-aged woman coming over. The woman was covered with jewels and had heavy makeup on her face. She was the kind of makeup that would fall off when she spoke. After seeing the fat woman, Ma Guanghui changed his arrogance and ran over with a flattering face. He said flatteringly, "Cousin, why are you here? Why didn't you call me in advance so that I could pick you up?" This fat woman was indeed his cousin, and she was also a rich woman with more than 100 million yuan. She came here from time to buy things and brought him a lot of commission. That was why he took the initiative to flatter her. "Nothing, I'm just looking around." The fat woman looked at the guanyin pendant and said, "Yesterday I saw a very famous master. He said that I've been unlucky recently and needed to buy something with jade to ward off evil spirits. I think this guanyin pendant is good. I'll take it. How much is it?" "Just swipe my card." Then she took out a bank card from her expensive LV bag and handed it to the waiter. The waiter explained, "I'm sorry, this gentleman has already paid. Now this pendant is his." Ma Guanghui glared and scolded, "How can you talk to my cousin like that? Don't you know that she is our gold VIP customer? She has the priority to buy things." The waiter said awkwardly, "Sir, you have already paid. You can't ask for it back." "Why can't you take it back? It's just 800,000 yuan. Just give it back to him." Ma Guanghui said arrogantly to Qin Haodong, "We won't sell this pendant. I'll give you the money back now." Qin Haodong frowned and said, "You can sell it if you want to sell it. What do you think the customers are?" Ma Guanghui said arrogantly, "There are different levels of customers. Do you know who my cousin is? She is the gold VIP of Shui's jewelry. She spends more than 10 million yuan on jewelry every year. You can't compare with her. Give it back quickly, and I'll give you the money back. I don't care what kind of gold VIP she is. Anyway, I've paid for it. It's mine." Qin Haodong said as he put his bank card and receipt into his pocket. The fat woman looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Handsome boy, isn't it just money? As long as you give me this jade pendant, I'll give you 1 million yuan. If you can go with me tonight, I'll give you another 200,000 yuan." As she spoke, she winked at Qin Haodong. He had just seen the 4 super beauties in bikinis in his house, and now he saw this woman with a pale face. The huge gap made Qin Haodong feel sick and almost vomit on the spot. "I'm sorry, I won't sell it for any price." Then he turned around and was about to leave. "Stop. Who said you can go?" Ma Guanghui stood in front of Qin Haodong and said aggressively, "Boy, do you want to make trouble? Don't you know where you are? This is Shui's jewelry, not a place where you can behave atrociously. Let me tell you, you must get this guanyin pendant back to me today, or you'll be in jail for robbery. Do you understand?" Qin Haodong said coldly, "Are you kidding me? I paid for it. Have you ever seen a robber who pays? I said you're a robber. Get it back." Ma Donghui, who was tall and strong, didn't take Qin Haodong, who looked like a student, seriously. Then he reached into Qin Haodong's pocket to grab it. Qin Haodong was furious when he saw this guy taking action against him. Disdain didn't mean he could offend him at will. It seemed that he had to teach this guy a lesson. He reached out and grabbed Ma Guanghui's wrist, then kicked him in the lower abdomen. Ma Guanghui didn't expect that this seemingly weak and bullied boy could be so fierce. When he came to his senses, he had flown out and hit a pillar behind him. Although Qin Haodong only used a little strength in this kick, it was enough to make him feel like dying. After a long time, he got up from the ground and shouted at the top of his voice, "Security, come here quickly. Security, someone is making trouble." Soon 7 or 8 tall and strong security guards ran over in full armor. The head of security went forward and asked, "Manager, what's wrong?" Ma Guanghui pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted with a ferocious face, "This little bastard dared to hit me. Kill him. How dare you make trouble in our Shui's jewelry store? Do you want to die?" The head of security waved his hand and said, "Brothers, cripple him first and then send him to the police station." The security guards shouted and surrounded Qin Haodong in the middle, ready to take action. Qin Haodong's expression turned cold. The Shui's jewelry store was really bullying its customers. Just as he was about to teach these people a lesson, a cold voice next to him said, "Are you crazy? Stop it." Behind Qin Haodong, a young woman came over. She was beautiful and had a graceful figure. Her every move exuded a strong momentum. Behind her were 4 bodyguards in black suits. "Miss Zhou." It was Zhou Xinju. Ma Guanghui and the fat woman were both shocked. The eldest daughter of the Zhou family could be said to be a legendary figure in the business world of Shanghai. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was the queen of finance. Therefore, everyone in the business world knew Zhou Xinju. They just didn't know why she suddenly came here. "Miss Zhou, why are you here?" Ma Guanghui immediately ran over with a flattering face. He bowed and his head was almost in his crotch. He had to be humble. She was the daughter of the Zhou family, the queen of the business world of Shanghai. Even if their boss came, he would have to treat her like a bodhisattva, let alone a small manager like him. Zhou Xinju looked at him coldly and said in a cold voice, "Does your Shui's jewelry not want to work anymore? How dare you hit my boyfriend?" After she said this, everyone's eyes fell to the ground. Even Qin Haodong's mouth was wide open. When did he become her boyfriend? Why didn't he know? Ma Guanghui and the fat woman were shocked at first, and then they broke out in a cold sweat. They couldn't afford to provoke Miss Zhou's boyfriend. Especially Ma Guanghui. He was so scared that he almost wet his pants. He was in big trouble today. As long as Zhou Xinju said a word to their boss, he would immediately be fired. "Miss Zhou, we really didn't know that he was your boyfriend. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to do it." Chapter 506. Ma Guanghui quickly drove away the security guards, and then begged again. "Miss Zhou, please forgive me. I was blind this time. Please let me go this time." Although the fat woman did not speak, she was already trembling. Her small business could be destroyed by Zhou Xinju with a flick of her fingers. Zhou Xinju said with a blank expression, "You didn't offend me." "I know, Miss Zhou, I know." Ma Guanghui turned around and knelt down in front of Qin Haodong. "Little brother, I failed to recognize you. For the sake of my parents and children, just let me go like a fart." Zhou Xinju turned to Qin Haodong and said, "What do you think? If you're not satisfied, I'll call Shui Chang'an immediately and ask him to get out of here." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Forget it, let's go." He didn't want to drive Ma Guanghui away. It was better for such a snobbish manager to stay in Shui's jewelry, which was more beneficial to Lin's group. Thank you, little brother. Thank you." Ma Guanghui didn't know what he was thinking, and thanked him again and again. After leaving the Shui's jewelry store, Qin Haodong looked at Zhou Xinju again. At this time, Miss Zhou was like a different person from the first time he met her. Her face was still pretty, but her body had changed dramatically. The places that should be protruding were protruding, and the places that should be concave were concave. Her graceful curves exuded the unique charm of a woman. "It seems that the effect is good. It's all thanks to you," Zhou Xinju said as she straightened her chest, revealing a deep ravine in the middle of her lapel suit. You've changed a lot. Qin Haodong sighed and said. Compared with the first time they met, Zhou Xinju seemed to be a different person. She was less cold and more charming. It seemed that the impact of a woman's chest on her character was still very great. Zhou Xinju looked at him charmingly and said with a double meaning. Is it big? I don't think it's big enough. The bodyguards next to her all widened their eyes in surprise. They had been with Zhou Xinju for so many years, but they had never seen her show such an expression to any man. Qin Haodong smiled. Tell me, when did I become your boyfriend? Why didn't I know? When you were at the station, Lu Yu told the Public Security Bureau Chief Dong that you are my boyfriend to get you out. I thought about it, and felt having a boyfriend like you is not bad. That's why I agreed. Qin Haodong was speechless. What do you mean you agreed? The person involved, don't even know. At the same time, he also understood why the director of the Public Security Bureau, Su Biqing, and the headmaster, Ho Wenbin, had such a special attitude towards him. It must have something to do with the eldest daughter of the Zhou family in front of him. Miss Zhou, I'll stop joking. Qin Haodong said. Thank you for your help today. Although he could also solve these problems without Zhou Xinju, basic etiquette was still necessary. I just happened to come here to take a walk. I didn't expect to meet these fellows. You don't have to thank me. I've already said that you're my boyfriend. It's my duty to help you teach these ignorant things a lesson. Zhou Xinju took the initiative to hold Qin Haodong's arm. Should we go on a date? You can treat me to a meal or a movie or something. After that, she turned to the 4 bodyguards behind her and said, You all go back. Haodong will send me back later. After receiving the order, the 4 bodyguards left Zhou Xinju and said to Qin Haodong, Tell me, where are we going to eat? Qin Haodong was not used to Miss Zhou's enthusiasm. He said, I can eat, but I already have a girlfriend. It doesn't matter. It's normal for an excellent man like you to have a girlfriend. It would be strange if you didn't. Aren't you still married? Everyone can compete fairly. While talking, the 2 of them walked forward together. Qin Haodong pointed to the commercial building opposite and said, By the way, do you know where this property is? Why hasn't it opened yet? Do you want to sell it? Zhou Xinju looked at him in surprise and said, Didn't you just go to college? Why are you interested in this? Qin Haodong said, I have a friend who wants to open a jewelry store in Shanghai. I think this location is good. Zhou Xinju said, This location is really good, but are you sure it's okay to open a jewelry store opposite Shue's Jewelry? There's no reason not to. My friend isn't doing it on a small scale. He wants to compete with the entire jewelry market in Shanghai. Even if it's built far away, it will become a rival to Shue's Jewelry. In comparison, it's better to build it opposite it. Your idea is really bold and practical, but it's very difficult to take food from Shue's Jewelry. Qin Haodong said, It doesn't matter if it's difficult. We have to do it to know who wins and who loses. This kind of spirit is good. Zhou Xinju said, This commercial building belongs to the Sun family in Shanghai. I heard that they are going to build a business club here, and have no intention of selling it. Oh, Qin Haodong nodded. It seemed that he had to think of some ways to get this building. He said, Thank you for providing me with such important information. What do you want to eat? What should I eat? I really haven't thought about it yet. Zhou Xinju took Qin Haodong's hand, and suddenly pointed to a 5-star hotel next to her and said, Why don't we get a room? Ahem. Ahem. Qin Haodong almost choked on his own saliva. It was too fast. Before he could come to his senses, Zhou Xinju had already taken him to the lobby of the hotel. Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, Miss Zhou, this is really not appropriate. Although Zhou Xinju was very beautiful, and her figure was very attractive, he was still not used to such a bold and unrestrained behavior of getting a room without saying a word. Zhou Xinju ignored him and said to the waiter who came over, Open my room, and then bring up our hotel's signature dishes for Mr. Qin to taste. Okay, miss, please come with me. After the waiter finished speaking, he respectfully led the 2 of them to the elevator. Qin Haodong said, Is this your family's property? Yes, this is one of the subordinate hotels of our Zhou family. I have a separate room here, but I rarely have time to come here. Since you're here today, let's have a meal here. Zhou Xinju looked at him with a playful expression and said, "What else did you think it was?" Qin Haodong smiled awkwardly and said, I thought it was also a meal." Soon, they arrived at the top floor of the hotel. There was a luxurious presidential suite, which was prepared for Zhou Xinju. The decoration of the room was extremely luxurious. It was surrounded by floor-to-ceiling glass windows. Sitting here and eating, they could have a panoramic view of most of Shanghai. Soon, the waiter brought up a sumptuous meal, then turned around and left, closing the door. There were only 2 people left in the big room. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "You asked the bodyguards to go back, but you're still showing off your wealth. Aren't you afraid that I'm a bad person? Even my life was saved by you. What's there to be afraid of? No matter what conditions you put forward, I'll agree to them. Tell me, do you want to rob me of my money or my body? As long as you say a number, I'll give it to you immediately. As for my body, there's no need to talk about it. There's a bed over there." Then, Zhou Xinju stuck out her chest and gave him a flirtatious look. Qin Haodong was speechless for a moment. He found that this woman really had no defenses against him. In the end, he was still the one being teased. "Let's eat. I'm really hungry." In order to ease the weird atmosphere, he quickly turned his attention to the food in front of him. He had to admit that the chef of a 5-star hotel was good at cooking. The taste of the food was very unique. After they ate for a while, Zhou Xinju said, "Actually, I asked you to come here because I have something to ask of you." Qin Haodong said, "What is it? Tell me." Zhou Xinju lowered her head and pointed to her chest. She said with a little shyness, "Well, I want to be a little bigger. Do you still have the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir?" "You want to be a little bigger?" Qin Haodong said in surprise. "Isn't it good now? Sometimes it's not a good choice to be too big." Zhou Xinju said, "You don't know how important breasts are to a woman, especially a woman who is excellent in other aspects, but has a defect in breasts. Over the years, my flat chest has become the target of all my enemies." Airport flat chest nails. In short, there are a lot of ugly words that hurt my heart, but I have nowhere to complain. The second daughter of the Sun family is called Sun Qianqian. She and I have been classmates since childhood. In terms of appearance and talent, she is no match for me. However, she has a B-cup chest, so when we meet, she has to swing her chest in front of me. She often uses this to laugh at me. You know that women are stingy. Although my chest is a little better now, it's only the same size as hers. I want to be a little bigger than her, and then laugh at her to vent the anger that has been suppressed in my heart for many years. "You can do that." Qin Haodong suddenly opened his mouth wide. He was surprised by the way women compared. Of all things, they had to compare breasts. Zhou Xinju said, "How about it? Are you willing to help me? You can name the price. How about 100 million yuan? 100 million yuan for breast enlargement?" Qin Haodong secretly shook his head. He had really underestimated a woman's vindictiveness. In order to show that her breasts were bigger than the other parties, she had offered 100 million yuan. No one else would do that. He took out a bottle of breast enhancement and body shaping pills from his pocket and gave it to Zhou Xinju. "Since you want to use it, you can take it. We were not familiar before, so I charged you 100 million yuan. Now we are friends. This bottle of pills is for you." "Thank you, little brother." Zhou Xinju took the small jade bottle and said happily, "I want to use it now. Is there any way to make the effect of the medicine work faster? I can't wait to surpass Sun Qianqian." There is a way, but it's not very convenient." "What's inconvenient? I'm already yours. If you have any way, just tell me." Qin Haodong was speechless again. He had obviously not taken advantage of her. How could she be his? He said with a little embarrassment, "If I help with massage, the effect of the medicine will work faster. It will take about 20 minutes. "Massage?" Zhou Xinju instantly became bloated. Her cheeks turned red. Although she spoke boldly, in fact, she had never been in contact with other men. She was still very conservative. She said with a little shyness, "Do you want to take advantage of me?" Qin Haodong quickly explained, "I don't mean that. It's not what you think. You don't need to massage the front. You only need to massage the back. The back. That's fine, Zhou Xinju said. Are you full? If you are, let's start now. Although it was a question, she did not wait for Qin Haodong to answer. She turned around and took off her little suit jacket, revealing a black lace underwear. Chapter 507. Humans were indeed strange creatures. Just by taking off a piece of clothing, the atmosphere in the room instantly became ambiguous. Can we do it now? Zhou Xinju was still very nervous. Because of her flat chest, she had never even worn a swimsuit. Therefore, this was the first time she had exposed her body in front of a man since she was a child. Qin Haodong said awkwardly, You have to take this off as well. Otherwise it will affect the effect of breast enhancement. The underwear on Zhou Xinju's body was the B version. If she wore it, it would inevitably hinder her breasts from becoming bigger. Oh, got it. Zhou Xinju agreed, and raised her hand to unbutton the underwear on her back. However, maybe because she was too nervous, she couldn't open it after trying several times. Qin Haodong shook his head. This girl could only take advantage of him with her mouth. She was already so unbearable before they even started. Let me help you. As he spoke, he raised his hand and untied the strap of Zhou Xinju's underwear. The black lace instantly slipped down. Although he was sitting behind Zhou Xinju and couldn't see the scenery in front of her chest, at this moment, both of them felt that everything was different. Out of a woman's instinct, Zhou Xinju couldn't help but raise her hands to protect her chest. Qin Haodong said, Relax, I'm going to start. Zhou Xinju took a deep breath, slowly put down her hands, and forced herself to relax. At this time, there were two little people constantly shouting at her in her heart. One of them shouted, Don't think too much. He's just a doctor. The other cried, He's a man, a very handsome man. He makes you feel that you like him very much. He's about to touch your body. Of course, Qin Haodong didn't know this. With 500 years of experience, he was naturally much more determined than Zhou Xinju. Soon, he focused his mind on his hands and began to massage her back. The greenwood genuine qi was continuously injected into Zhou Xinju's body through his hands, quickly increasing the efficacy of the breast enhancement and body shaping pill. Zhou Xinju felt a wave of heat circulating quickly in her body, and then rushed to her chest, bringing a hot feeling there. As time passed, the shyness slowly faded. She began to carefully feel her body. She could even clearly feel that her chest was constantly getting bigger. This feeling was very wonderful. Unknowingly, 20 minutes had passed. The efficacy of the breast enhancement and body shaping pill had been completely absorbed by her body. All right, Qin Haodong took a deep breath and slowly withdrew his hands. The effect of the medicine was pretty good. Although he couldn't see the scenery in front of him from the back, he could still estimate the size of the growth in front of him from the bulging curves on both sides. Oh, Zhou Xinju answered and slowly opened her eyes. She immediately felt the changes in her chest. Seeing the magnificent scale, her breathing couldn't help but quicken. C-cup, a scene that had appeared in his dreams countless times, had finally come true. Then thinking that there was a young man sitting behind her, she began to become nervous and shy again. She quickly reached out to grab the underwear next to her, but soon found that the underwear was too small and could not accommodate her current figure. Damn it, I should have prepared some clothes in advance. Zhou Xinju cursed in her heart, but it was too late to regret it now. It was an accident that she had met Qin Haodong. She had no choice but to wear the small lapel suit over her body. However, due to the rapid change in her figure, the decent suit had also become thin and small. It could barely cover her body. After putting it on, two graceful curves and a bottomless gully were revealed at the neckline. Qin Haodong said, How is it? Is the effect good? Very good, thank you, Zhou Xinju said as she turned around. Although she knew that it would be a bit revealing, she couldn't always turn her back to Qin Haodong. What the hell? Looking at the tight little suit that could explode at any time, Qin Haodong intimately felt the difference between a B cup and a C cup. The scale, the curve, and the gully were always there, exuding endless temptation to a man. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a woman with big breasts? When Zhou Xinju said this, she felt very strange. She was a little shy, a little carefree, and also a little bit of a woman's pride. Qin Haodong said with a smile, I've never seen a woman with such big breasts wearing such small clothes. You'd better hurry up and find suitable clothes. Otherwise, when you go out later, there will be a lot of people looking at you. Maybe someone will take a picture and send it to the internet. It will become the screensaver of countless men. I don't have clothes here, Zhou Xinju said with a little annoyance. Who knew that I would meet you? As a result, I ended up like this. Now I punish you to accompany me to buy clothes. Qin Haodong was speechless. He didn't expect that after being a doctor for breast enlargement, he would be in trouble. Let's go. What are you waiting for? Zhou Xinju said as she stood up. She didn't expect that it would become more and more embarrassing. It should be known that the breast enhancement and body shaping pill was not just a simple breast enlargement. It also caused a graceful change in her body shape. The front was protruding, and the back was curving. The short skirt below also became thinner, clearly outlining the curve of her buttocks. Today, she was wearing a small suit with a short skirt. Originally, this kind of dress made her look fashionable and refreshing, but now she didn't feel anything else. She only felt sexy. Her plump figure was about to be revealed under the thin clothes. Let's go. Zhou Xinju was extremely unaccustomed to being looked at like this. She quickly pulled Qin Haodong out of the room. After going out, her appearance and dress attracted a lot of people's attention as expected. Every time someone looked at her, Zhou Xinju couldn't help but cling tightly to Qin Haodong's body, trying to use Qin Haodong to cover up her chest. However, Qin Haodong was embarrassed. Not only could he see the two hemispheres that had become more and more prominent due to the compression, but he could also clearly feel the softness and elasticity. The most important thing was that he clearly knew that there was nothing under the small suit. He quickly calmed down and diverted his attention. Otherwise, once he attracted the attention of the second leader, he would be the one who would be embarrassed. Fortunately, there was a large clothing store next to them after they went out. The two of them quickly walked in. At this time, they didn't have time to choose too much. They quickly bought a long skirt and changed their small clothes. Then they walked into a lingerie store. This was an extremely high-end lingerie store. Although he didn't know the brands with English letters, he could see the price of each lingerie. Most of them were more than 5 digits. This kind of high-end consumer price meant that there were not many people who could afford it. In addition, it was almost late at night. There were only Qin Haodong, Zhou Xinju, and 2 shop assistants in the whole store. It looked very quiet. This was a women's lingerie store. There were all kinds of women's lingerie, including beautiful and sexy bikinis and many fancy and sexy lingerie. Qin Haodong couldn't help blushing, and his heart beating fast. A man staying in a women's lingerie store made Qin Haodong feel a little embarrassed. He said, "Take your time to choose here. I'll wait for you outside. Don't go. I'll choose the right lingerie later. I want you to help me see if it's beautiful or not." Zhou Xinju said as she gently bit her lip and winked at him. This is blatant flirting. Under the strange gaze of the shop assistant, Qin Haodong said awkwardly, "I don't think it's appropriate for you to choose lingerie." Zhou Xinju pressed him down on the chair and said, "What's inappropriate about it? Who else can see my lingerie except you?" At this time, the shop assistant had completely determined the relationship between the two of them and said, "Yes, the boyfriend has the most right to say whether a woman's lingerie is beautiful or not." Qin Haodong didn't want to explain too much. He simply took out his mobile phone from his pocket and looked at it to ease his embarrassment. In fact, Zhou Xinju didn't give him a chance to look at his mobile phone at all. What they were going to enjoy next was a lingerie reality show. The young lady of the Zhou family kept trying on all kinds of lingerie and then walked back and forth in front of Qin Haodong. She had to give an evaluation. Watching a beautiful woman's lingerie show was a kind of enjoyment for a man, but it was also a kind of embarrassment at this time. Because the 2 shop assistants were standing next to him, he had to control his reaction at all times. so that others wouldn't see his seriously deformed pants. Only he could understand this feeling. Zhou Xinju changed into a beautiful and sexy set of lingerie and came to Qin Haodong. How is it? Isn't it beautiful and sexy? It's beautiful. Very sexy. Qin Haodong already had a feeling of being conquered. He said helplessly, Miss, you've already bought 7 or 8 sets of lingerie. Is that enough? What do you know? A woman's lingerie has to be changed every day, so we naturally have to prepare more. Zhou Xinju didn't pay any attention to Qin Haodong's dissuasion. After walking around in front of the mirror, she turned around and said to Qin Haodong, Are you sure it's sexy? I'm sure. Qin Haodong said as he moved his eyes to the side, not to cover up his lie, but to avoid embarrassment. Now Zhou Xinju's figure was really good. She was curvy and graceful. All the words that could be used to praise a woman's figure could be used on her. Any man who looked at her for a long time would have a reaction. You're lying. Zhou Xinju didn't want to let him go. She walked in front of him, bent down and whispered in his ear. People say that to test whether a woman is sexy or not, it depends on whether a man has a reaction or not. It seems that there is no reaction here. As she spoke, her eyes glanced at Qin Haodong. What the F***ck? How can you test it like this? At this time, Zhou Xinju breathed in his ear. Because she lowered her body, the 2 huge hemispheres immediately appeared in front of him. How could he live like this? At this moment, all the previous efforts were lost in an instant. The second leader stood up with his head held high. Seeing Qin Haodong's reaction, Zhou Xinju giggled and said, Well, now I believe you. You really didn't lie. The dignified Emperor Greenwood was actually teased like this by a woman. If it weren't for the 2 shop assistants next to him, Qin Haodong really wanted to grab this woman and spank her hard. At this moment, the door of the shop opened, and another woman came in. Welcome. A shop assistant immediately greeted her, and several people's eyes turned to the woman who came in at the same time. After seeing the woman's appearance, Zhou Xinju's expression suddenly changed, because the person who came in was the second daughter of the Sun family, Sun Qianqian. She was also the woman who had despised her for having a flat chest countless times, and trampled on her self-esteem countless times. At this time, Sun Qianqian also noticed Zhou Xinju. A sneer flashed across her face, and then she walked over in her high heels. Chapter 508. Qin Haodong noticed that Zhou Xinju was different. He asked in a low voice, Do you know each other? Zhou Xinju said, She's Sun Qianqian. Oh. Qin Haodong looked at the woman again. They were both young ladies, but Sun Qianqian was much worse than Zhou Xinju in both appearance and aura. Only her breasts looked quite straight. It was no wonder that she often used this to attack Zhou Xinju, because her other aspects were really not presentable. Moreover, this woman had high cheekbones and thin lips. At first glance, one could tell that she was a mean person. Xinju, it's so strange that I can see you here, Sun Qianqian said with an exaggerated expression. In fact, I think that although your Zhou family is rich, you shouldn't spend money like this. A woman like you, who has inherited your father's excellent genes, doesn't need to wear underwear. Due to the angle, she could only see Zhou Xinju's neck at first. As she spoke, she bypassed the shelves and the waitress and suddenly saw Zhou Xinju's perfect figure in sexy underwear. She suddenly felt as if her neck had been strangled. She looked at Zhou Xinju's bulging breasts, sexy and plump buttocks, and curvy curves. She said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, miss. I mistook you for someone else. No, you didn't mistake me for someone else. Old classmate second Miss Sun. I'm Zhou Xinju, who you once called the airport. As Zhou Xinju spoke, she looked at Sun Qianqian playfully. She seemed to be very satisfied with the effect of her shock. How is this possible? After confirming that the person in front of her was Zhou Xinju, Sun Qianqian opened her mouth in surprise and couldn't close it for a long time. Nothing is impossible. Zhou Xinju swayed her sexy body and came in front of Sun Qianqian. She made a few sexy and charming gestures in succession, showing her beautiful figure incisively and vividly. Old classmate, I just developed a little later than you. Now I'm fully developed. Now I'm 35C. What do you think? Are you envious? Seeing Sun Qianqian's shocked expression, Zhou Xinju felt extremely happy. Over the years, she had really had enough of this woman's sarcasm. Then she said, "Sorry, I was wrong. Maybe I haven't fully developed yet. I may become 35D in a few days." Speaking up to this point, she held her chest and put on a vexed expression. "Actually, this is quite annoying. The bigger it gets, the more I have to change my underwear. Although our Zhou family is rich, this is not the way to spend money. The more I grow, the bigger I grow, the more I have to constantly change my underwear. Although our Zhou family is rich, we can't spend money like this." Zhou Xinju was stunned. Sun Qianqian stood there like a wax statue. She had suffered a great blow today. In her mind, Zhou Xinju could only be a flat-chested woman. She could only be ridiculed by her. She had never dreamed that one day Zhou Xinju would have a better figure than her, or even the best. How was she going to vent her jealousy? How was she going to use her breasts to mock him? How was she going to regain her self-esteem? "Second Miss Sun, do you think the underwear I chose is beautiful?" As she spoke, Zhou Xinju took a piece of lingerie that she had just chosen and took a picture of Sun Qianqian's chest. Then she said with an admiring expression, "It's really good. My taste is still good, but your chest is too small. You can't hold it up even if you wear a bra. It doesn't show the effect of this kind of sexy lingerie at all." Seeing Miss Zhou's series of sharp counterattacks, Qin Haodong shook his head and couldn't help but think, why should a woman embarrass another woman? However, he could also understand Zhou Xinju's mood. Anyone who had been ridiculed by others for so many years would find an opportunity to vent their emotions. Only then did Sun Qianqian come to her senses. She pushed Zhou Xinju's hand away and said angrily, "Enough! Isn't it just a breast augmentation surgery? What's so great about them? They're all fake stuffed with silicone gel. What's wrong? Old classmate, are you angry?" Zhou Xinju put on the tone that Sun Qianqian used to use when she was angry and said, "You're envious and jealous. I've already said that I just developed a little late. Mine is completely natural. If your chest is too small, you can inject some silicone gel. But that thing has side effects. It might cause necrosis and be removed. You must be careful." You. Sun Qianqian had never dreamed that she would be laughed at by others for having a small chest. If it was someone else, she could bear it. However, the other party was the flat-chested woman that she had always laughed at. However, the fact was in front of her. Sun Qianqian's figure was better than hers. It was useless no matter what she said. Suddenly, she saw Qin Haodong, who was watching the show with interest. She suddenly thought of something and shouted, "Miss Zhou, is this the toy boy you found? He doesn't have good taste. He looks like a poor man." Qin Haodong was watching with great interest. He didn't expect that the battle would suddenly shift to him. "What does it have to do with me whether you two women are bigger or smaller? Is this the legendary unjustly implicated?" Zhou Xinju came to Qin Haodong's side and put her arms around his neck. He was sitting on a chair while Zhou Xinju was standing. This height was just enough for her chest to stick to his cheek. "Yes, let me introduce my boyfriend, Qin Haodong." Sun Qianqian finally seized the opportunity to fight back. She said harshly, "He's just a poor boy. I didn't expect the dignified Miss Zhou to degenerate like this. You can't find a boyfriend, and can only rely on a sugar daddy." Zhou Xinju didn't care at all. She smiled and said, "Are you looking down on me?" "Let me tell you, Haodong is very capable. Do you know why my chest grew so fast? It was because of him." Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought to himself, "You are the young ladies of a big family. Can't you have a bottom line? What do you mean I made it big? I haven't touched it yet, okay?" "Zhou Xinju, don't lie to me. How is that possible?" Sun Qianqian didn't believe it. "Is it necessary to lie to you?" Zhou Xinju said, "What I said is true. As long as Haodong wants to, he can make your chest D in one night. It's a pity that you're too ugly. My boyfriend doesn't like you." You. Sun Qianqian was so angry that her face turned red and she couldn't speak. She didn't expect that not only had Zhou Xinju's chest become bigger, but her words had also become so sharp. "Well, we're classmates anyway. I have to leave you some self-esteem. I'm leaving. Or you'll be too embarrassed to try on underwear. Zhou Xinju glanced at Sun Qianqian proudly. Then, she put on her clothes, paid the bill, and walked out of the door with Qin Haodong's arm. After going out, she immediately laughed proudly and said, "It's great. It's really great. I've never felt so great in my life." Then she hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him hard on the cheek. "Thank you. You've finally helped me get revenge today." Qin Haodong wiped his cheeks in astonishment and said, "I really don't understand women. Is it necessary to care so much about who's older and who's younger?" "Of course it's necessary," Zhou Xinju said. "After so many years, do you know how many times I've been ridiculed by Sun Qianqian? It's not about the size of my chest. It's about a woman's dignity." Then, she glanced at Qin Haodong's breasts and said, "For example, if someone says that your breasts are short and small every day for several years, but your breasts are really short and small, what would you do?" Qin Haodong was speechless. Her breasts had nothing to do with being short and small, okay? However, it was undeniable that Zhou Xinju's analogy was really appropriate. "Tell me, what would you do?" Qin Haodong said helplessly. "I would fantasize that one day I would grow bigger and then take revenge on her." Zhou Xinju patted him on the shoulder and cried, "That's right. It's the same reason. I can finally hold my head high today. Let's see if she still dares to say that I'm a flat-chested woman. But it's fine if you want to take revenge. Why did you lie about me? How did I lie? You said that I made it big, but I didn't touch your breasts at all. Am I wrong? Weren't you the one who made it big?" Zhou Xinju took his hand and said with a playful expression, "I see. Do you really want to touch it?" Of course, Qin Haodong would not admit it in the face of such a big problem. He said righteously, "What are you talking about? I just can't stand your lying." Zhou Xinju suddenly held his hand in front of her chest, then said with a smile, "Now it's not a lie, right?" It seems so." Qin Haodong said embarrassedly, "Let's go. Accompany me to have a good look at the night view of Shanghai." Zhou Xinju held Qin Haodong's hand and said with great interest, "It's so late at night. What's there to see? What's wrong with the night? I'm happy today. I've thought about it. Why did I get breast cancer with such a small chest? It must have something to do with my depressed mood all day. So I want to say goodbye to the past in the future and live happily." The two of them walked aimlessly on the streets of Shanghai. As a native of Shanghai, Zhou Xinju was very familiar with everything here. However, she was not looking at the street view, but her mood. For so many years, she had never been as happy as she was now. After Zhou Xinju left, Sun Qianqian turned around and left the lingerie store. She reached out and called the 4 bodyguards guarding the door. She said to 2 of them, "Follow them." "Yes, miss." After that, the 2 of them quietly followed Qin Haodong and Zhou Xinju. Sun Qianqian returned to the car, took out her mobile phone and dialed her brother, Sun Onbong's number. As a big family in Shanghai, the Sun family had a division of labor in all departments. As a direct descendant of the family, Sun Onbong was in charge of the Sun family's intelligence system. "Brother, I want you to help me investigate something. Tell me what's the matter." Sun Onbong was very fond of his sister. Sun Qianqian briefly told him about her encounter with Zhou Xinju today, then said, "I want you to help me investigate how Zhou Xinju's chest became bigger. Does it have anything to do with that gigolo boy?" Sun Onbong had just taken a sip of red wine. He spat it out and said helplessly, "Sister, you want me to investigate this?" "Yes, this is very important to me. I must find out." "Well, wait for my call. We'll get the results soon." Out of love for his sister, Sun Onbong agreed. As a big family in the capital, their intelligence system was indeed very powerful. They soon got the result. He called Sun Qianqian again. "Sister, according to our insider in the Zhou family, Zhou Xinju's chest became bigger overnight. It does have something to do with the little doctor surnamed Qin. Legend has it that she took a medicine called the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir." Sun Qianqian said in disbelief, "Brother, is this news reliable? Is there really a magic medicine that can make people's breasts grow overnight?" Sun Onbong said, "The news is very reliable. Zhou Xinju's assistant, Lu Yu, also took this medicine. Her chest also increased by a whole size. After hanging up the phone, Sun Qianqian's eyes lit up and she said, I must get the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir. Chapter 509. Qin Haodong accompanied Zhou Xinju on the street. Soon, he felt that someone was following them. At first, he thought that the two people were coming for Zhou Xinju, but after creating several suitable opportunities for them to attack, the two people behind him still did not move. Did I make a mistake? He sent Zhou Xinju back to the Zhou family with doubts. Later, he found that the two people were still following him. It seemed that they were not coming for Zhou Xinju, but for him. Since it was his own trouble, he should solve it as soon as possible. He came to a secluded place, turned around and said to the two people behind him, Come out. At this moment, 3 off-road vehicles sped over from a distance, surrounding Qin Haodong in the middle in a triangle. After the vehicles were parked, Sun Qianqian jumped out of the car with more than a dozen bodyguards and met up with the 2 bodyguards hiding in the dark. Only then did Qin Haodong figure out what was going on. It turned out that these people had been waiting for Zhou Xinju to come home, so that they could make a move on him. He had basically guessed the other party's purpose. He said lightly, Miss Sun, I didn't expect to meet you again so soon. What's the matter? Sun Qianqian said with a fierce face, Cut the crap. Hand over the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir now, or I'll cripple you today. Qin Haodong said, It seems that your Sun family is very strong. You found out the truth so quickly. Sun Qianqian said angrily, It's you who made Zhou Xinju's chest bigger. You made me lose face tonight. Hand over the elixir now, or I'll throw you into the river to feed the fish. Qin Haodong said, Yes, I do have this kind of elixir, but didn't you find out? My elixir is very expensive. It costs 100 million yuan per bottle. This time, before Sun Qianqian could speak, a bald bodyguard standing next to her said, Are you King crazy? Do you know who she is? She's the second miss of the Sun family. Taking your elixir is giving you face. How dare you ask for money? Do you want to die? Do you believe that I'll break your legs now? Qin Haodong was about to lose his temper. When he was about to lose his temper, suddenly, he thought of something and said with a frightened expression, Can you give me less money? 50 million is fine. The bald bodyguard grabbed his collar and said fiercely, Do you want money more than your life? Hurry up and take out the medicine. I'll give it to you right away. Qin Haodong tremblingly took out a small medicine bottle from his pocket and handed it to the bald bodyguard. The bald bodyguard pushed him away and respectfully handed the small medicine bottle to Sun Qianqian. Sun Qianqian opened the bottle and saw a black pill inside. It should be the breast enhancement and body shaping pill. Her face lit up with joy. After covering the lid again, she said, How can one be enough? Hurry up and hand over all your medicine. You're only allowed to marry me in the future. If I find out that you married that bitch Zhou Xinju again, I promise you won't be able to see the sun tomorrow. I know. Qin Haodong tremblingly took out 2 more small jade bottles from his pocket and said, Miss Sun, that's all. Don't take too much of this kind of medicine to increase your cup size. Sun Qianqian took the jade bottles and checked them. There was a small black pill in each bottle. After putting away the pills, she said again, I'm warning you. You're only allowed to marry me in the future. You're not allowed to marry that bitch Zhou Xinju. Qin Haodong said repeatedly, I know. These are the last 3 pills. Even if you want to marry me, there's no more. Seemingly very satisfied with his reaction, Sun Qianqian waved her hand to her subordinates and said, Let's go. Looking at the 3 SUVs driving away, Qin Haodong couldn't help but smile playfully. You want to steal my medicine? I don't know who's going to steal who. When he returned home, he was surprised to find that he had just watched a beauty's underwear show. And now he was watching a pajamas show with 4 beauties. Nailan Wushuang and the other 3 were not asleep. They were wearing sexy pajamas of various colors and sitting on the sofa watching TV. Even Jia Shirhan had been led astray by them. She was also wearing a black lace pajamas, which looked faintly discernible, making people's imagination run wild. You're back. Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, the four of them stood up together. For a moment the spring scenery surged. Qin Haodong's nostrils became hot. He quickly said hello and ran back to his room. It seemed that having too many women was also troublesome. He simply washed up and took out his mobile phone to call Lin Momo. "Papa, why did you call so late? I miss you so much." The sweet voice of the little fellow came from the other side of the phone. "Papa has some things to do, so I called you," Qin Haodong said. "Tang Tang, why haven't you slept yet?" "I couldn't sleep because I didn't receive a call from Papa," Lin Momo said. Tang Tang insisted on waiting for your call. She refused to sleep no matter what. Qin Haodong was moved. His daughter was so considerate. The little fellow asked, "Papa, I miss you. When will you come back?" Qin Haodong said, "Papa can't go back in a short time, but I can take you to Shanghai soon. Then I can take you out to play." "Really? That's great. I miss Papa so much." The little fellow chatted with Qin Haodong for a long time before she went to bed. Lin Momo took the phone. Qin Haodong said, "How are the preparations at home?" Lin Momo said, "Almost ready. We're just waiting for your news. We can go to Shanghai at any time." Qin Haodong said, "I also have some ideas. The day after tomorrow, you can take the little fellow to Shanghai, and then start the preparation work of Lin's jewelry in Shanghai." "So soon? Is there a suitable place?" "Not yet, but there will be one tomorrow." Qin Haodong told her about the commercial building opposite Shue's jewelry, and then said, "I think it's the most suitable place for Lin's group to move." "It's good, but will they sell it?" Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Don't worry, I'll get the house tomorrow." After talking about work, Lin Momo complained about her lovesickness and hung up the phone for a long time. In the Sun family's house in Shanghai, Sun Qianqian closed the door and excitedly put 3 small jade bottles in front of her. "Zhou Xinju, let's see how you can compete with me this time," Sun Qianqian murmured. She had no doubt that there would be something wrong with these 3 bottles of medicine, because Qin Haodong had not prepared anything before. No one would carry 3 bottles of fake medicine with them. She first opened a small jade bottle, took out a black pill, and threw it into her mouth. The pill melted in her mouth, and she didn't even use the water she had prepared. Soon, she felt a heat in her chest, as if there was a swelling feeling. She was so excited that she didn't feel this swelling feeling. Only the right side of her chest felt this way. It seemed that this breast enhancement and body shaping pill was really effective. It was said that 1 pill could increase 1 cup size. If she only took 1, she would be at the same level as Zhou Xinju, which was obviously not what she wanted. After hesitating for a moment, she directly threw the remaining 2 small black pills into her mouth. "Zhou Xinju, I will become an E-cup tomorrow. Let's see how you can compete with me then." It had to be said that jealousy was really a terrible power. At that moment, Sun Qianqian had become almost crazy. She never thought about whether she was really suitable for an E-cup. With the excitement of becoming a bosom tyrant, Sun Qianqian slowly fell asleep. The next morning, when she opened her eyes, the first thing she did was to touch her chest. "So big, really big. I have finally become a bosom tyrant. Let's see how that little girl, Zhou Xinju, can compete with me." In the midst of the intense excitement, Sun Qianqian suddenly sat up from the bed and looked down at her chest. At first glance, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She saw that the right side of her chest was indeed majestic. It was a solid E-cup, but the left side of her chest was gone. Not only did it not grow into an E-cup, but even the previous B-cup was gone. There was only a nail cap left on her chest. Sun Qianqian suddenly howled crazily. Her dream of becoming a bosom tyrant had not been realized. On the contrary, she had become such a monster. How could she go out and meet people? Hearing her cry, the bodyguards outside the door immediately rushed in, thinking that something had happened. "Miss, what's wrong?" Several bodyguards pulled out their pistols and scanned the room vigilantly, but they did not see anyone. Sun Qianqian quickly pulled up the quilt and covered her deformed chest. She shouted crazily, "Get out, all of you, get out!" After the bodyguards confirmed that there was no danger, they looked at the miss with a strange expression and then left the room. Sun Qianqian slowly regained a trace of rationality. She looked at her strange chest and murmured, "What should I do? What should I do?" Her current situation was much more serious than Zhou Xinju's. Zhou Xinju had only taken one black pill. If she had worn loose clothes, it would not have been obvious. However, she had taken 3 black breast enhancement and body shaping pills at once. Under the rapid growth of her right chest, even the fat on the left chest had been absorbed. The difference between the left and the right chest was so big that it could not be covered even if she wanted to. Damn it, it must be that gigolo boy playing with me. I'll kill you. I must kill you. Sun Qianqian roared crazily. At this moment, Qin Haodong had just finished making breakfast for the 4 women. He said to Nalan Wushuang, "I have something to deal with today. When you arrive at school, ask for a leave for me." Li Meiyu said discontentedly, "You came back so late last night. What are you going to do now? It's the first day of school. Aren't you afraid of being expelled from school?" Qin Haodong laughed. If it had been before, he would have been a little worried. Now that Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wen'er were protecting Li Meiyu, it did not matter whether he was expelled or not. It could even be said that he would have more freedom if he was expelled. "I really have something to do. Hurry up and go to school, or you'll be late later." After sending off Li Meiyu and the other 2, Qin Haodong had just walked out of the house when the phone in his pocket rang. He glanced at the caller ID. Although it was a strange number, he could guess who was calling. After pressing the answer button, sure enough, Sun Qianqian's crazy cry came from the other side. "Qin, you dare to play with me? I must kill you," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Miss Sun, if you stole it yourself, you can't blame me at all. How many did you eat? Does it feel good to have big breasts?" "I'll kill you. I must kill you. I'll tear you into pieces." Sun Qianqian was about to go crazy with anger. Qin Haodong was not moved at all. He said lightly, "Miss Sun, I don't know how many you ate. If you really kill me, you can only be a woman with big breasts for the rest of your life." After hearing this, Sun Qianqian immediately calmed down a lot and said, "Do you mean that my breasts can be cured?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course, but within 24 hours. If it exceeds 24 hours, even the gods can't do anything about it. You can only consider going to the hospital to have it cut off here." As a woman, no one was willing to have their breasts cut off, and Sun Qianqian was no exception. She asked coldly, "Tell me, what are your conditions?" Chapter 510. Qin Haodong said, "To tell you the truth, I like the building opposite Shui's jewelry. Give it to me, and I'll cure your illness." Sun Qianqian cried, "That's impossible. That building is worth at least 500 million yuan. How can I give it to you? This is robbery." Qin Haodong said, "Even if it's robbery, you can't blame others. Originally, I wanted to have a good talk with your Sun family, but you brought people to steal my medicine, so you can't blame me for robbing your building." Sun Qianqian gritted her teeth and said, "Qin, let me tell you, you can't be too greedy. I can give you some money, but you can't take the building. When you took 3 breast enhancement and body shaping pills from me, did you ever think that you were too greedy?" Qin Haodong said lightly, "I don't want money. I just want your building." "Okay, tell me where you are. I'll sign the agreement with you now." On the other side of the phone, Sun Qianqian was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. She wanted to kill Qin Haodong immediately. "Hurry up. I'm very busy. I'll only give you 10 minutes. After hanging up the phone, Qin Haodong sent his address to Sun Qianqian. About 7 or 8 minutes later, 10 off-road vehicles sped over and surrounded Qin Haodong with a shrill braking sound. After the cars stopped, 20 or 30 people jumped out. The leader was Sun Qianqian, and the bald bodyguard was next to her. Qin Haodong glanced at Sun Qianqian's chest and almost laughed. The woman's right chest was a few sizes bigger than yesterday, and looked particularly eye-catching. At the moment, her left side was also bulging. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a balloon filled with water. No one knew how she came up with this idea. Under the cover of the coat, it would be hard to find if one did not look carefully. However, this way, Sun Qianqian did everything carefully, for fear of breaking the water balloon on the left side. After getting out of the car, the bald bodyguard immediately took out a short knife and pressed it against Qin Haodong's neck. He said fiercely, "Boy, how dare you trick our miss? Hand over the medicine quickly." As the head of Sun Qianqian's bodyguards, he more or less knew something. Qin Haodong glanced at him, as if he didn't see the knife. He smiled faintly and said, "What if I don't hand it over? If you don't hand it over, I'll kill you immediately. In Shanghai, killing someone from our Sun family is no different from killing an ant. So powerful." Qin Haodong laughed and said, "Kill me if you can. Let me tell you, as long as you hurt a strand of my hair, your lady's illness will never be cured, or it may even get worse. You are courting death." The bald bodyguard's eyes were fierce, and he was about to kill Qin Haodong. He was not afraid, but Sun Qianqian was afraid of Qin Haodong's threat. If this guy made her right breast grow a few more sizes, she would be completely crippled. "Sun Wei, come back here." After calling the bald bodyguard back, she stepped forward and said, "Qin Haodong, can you really cure my disease?" "That's right. Let's talk things out," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Others can't cure it, but it's very simple for me. As long as I want to, I can cure it in minutes." Sun Qianqian said, "How can I believe you?" Qin Haodong took out a small jade bottle from his pocket and opened the lid. There were 3 red breast enhancement and body shaping elixirs inside. "It seems that your Sun family's intelligence system is not in place. You didn't find out that my breast enhancement and body shaping elixirs were originally a pair, with the red one on the left and the black one on the right. You snatched 3 black ones at once, so it became like this. It's very easy to change this situation. Take these 3 red ones within 24 hours. Not only will they cure your disease, but they will also fulfill your wish of breast enhancement." Sun Qianqian's eyes lit up. Only then did she understand what her problem was. Then, her expression changed and she shouted to the bodyguard behind her, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and snatch it for me." Sun Wei was already prepared. After hearing the order, he rushed forward with his people and surrounded Qin Haodong. "Kid, hand over the medicine." Sun Wei's skills were also good. He reached out to grab the small jade bottle in Qin Haodong's hand. However, he didn't manage to grab anything. Then, he felt a pain in his head. Qin Haodong had hit his bald head with a cannon. The hit was loud and clear. It was full of strength. A big red and purple bump immediately appeared in the middle of Sun Wei's forehead. It looked like a unicorn. "How dare you hit me?" Sun Wei was shocked and angry. He thought that this young man would be as weak and easy to bully as he was yesterday. He didn't expect that it was just Qin Haodong's disguise. His purpose was to trick Sun Qianqian. "What the F***ck are you waiting for? Let's go together and cripple him." Sun Wei roared at the bodyguards behind him. The bodyguards came to their senses and rushed towards Qin Haodong together. However, strength and quantity were not proportional most of the time. These bodyguards were eager to make a contribution in front of their master. However, they soon realized how pitiful they were. The person in front of them was not a weak and easy to bully, but an extremely fierce tiger. In less than 2 minutes, more than 20 bodyguards were all knocked to the ground. They wailed and screamed. The one who suffered the most was the leader, Sun Wei. At that moment, his bald head was covered with big green and purple bumps. He had turned from a unicorn to a sakyamuni. Qin Haodong grabbed his collar and patted his face. He smiled and said, "How is it? Are you satisfied with this hairstyle? You're actually a martial artist." Although Sun Wei hadn't even entered the ranks of obvious strength, the Sun family, as one of the 3 big families in Shanghai, had always been famous for their martial arts. There were many martial arts masters in the family. He had never eaten fat pork, but he had seen fat pigs run. He could immediately tell that Qin Haodong was also a martial arts master. "You're right. Not only am I a martial artist, but I'm also very powerful. Remember not to cause trouble for me in the future." Qin Haodong kicked Sun Wei away and turned his head to look at Sun Qianqian. "How dare you lie to me? Where's the basic integrity of a person? Where's the trust between people? We agreed to sign a contract, but you brought people to steal my medicine. How do you think I should punish you?" Sun Qianqian had never dreamed that Qin Haodong would be so fierce. He had actually taken care of so many bodyguards in the blink of an eye. Without the support of her bodyguards, she immediately lost her confidence. She took 2 steps back and shouted fiercely, "I'm telling you, don't mess around. I'm the second daughter of the Sun family." "Of course I know you're the second daughter of the Sun family. That's why I want that building," Sun Qianqian said. "It's impossible for me to get the building. I can give you money. I'll give you 100 million yuan according to the price you said, as long as you give me the red pills in your hand." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Now you want to pay, but that was yesterday's price. The price has increased today. 1 pill is 1 billion yuan, and 3 pills are 3 billion yuan. Do you still want to buy it?" You're robbing. It's you who's robbing me, Miss Sunday. You robbed me yesterday, and today you're robbing me again. I never suffer losses. Since you robbed me, I'll naturally rob you." Qin Haodong smiled, shook the small jade bottle in his hand and said, "Miss Sun, a friendly reminder. It's better to exchange the building for it. It's more cost-effective." "No, this is absolutely not possible." Although Sun Qianqian was also the 3rd generation of the Sun family, she was in charge of some projects, including that building. However, she did not have the status of Zhou Xinzhu in the Zhou family. If she took out that building to exchange for breast enhancement medicine, and the old man of the Sun family found out, she would inevitably be severely punished. It's up to you whether you can or not. I've never forced people. However, you brought people to make trouble for me today, which made me very unhappy, so I have to punish you." As Qin Haodong spoke, a shiny silver needle appeared in his hand. "What are you doing? I'm telling you, don't mess around. I'm the second daughter of the Sun family." Before Sun Qianqian could finish her threat, there was a popping sound. The water ball that was placed on the left side of her chest to find balance was pierced by the silver needle. The water inside immediately spilled out, wetting the clothes on her chest. After the water ball broke, both sides of Sun Qianqian's chest immediately lost balance. One side was high, while the other side was flat and low. Coupled with the fact that her wet clothes were clinging to her chest, the scene looked even clearer and even more ridiculous. "Qin Haodong, I'm going to kill you!" Sun Qianqian roared crazily. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. "It doesn't matter if you want to kill me. There are many people who want to kill me, but I'm still alive. However, I need to remind you that this medicine is only effective within 24 hours. If it exceeds 24 hours, it will be useless even if you take it. You can only be like this for the rest of your life. By the way, the time starts from the moment you took the black pill last night." After that he left, leaving behind the battered Sun Qianqian and the bodyguards wailing on the ground. Sun Qianqian gritted her teeth in hatred. However, her current image was indeed not suitable for her to stay outside for too long. She took the head bodyguard, Sun Wei, and quickly drove back to the Sun family. After returning to the room, Sun Wei said bitterly, "Second miss, we can't just let it go like this." As he spoke, he habitually raised his hand to wipe his bald head. However, he suddenly touched a big bump on his head, causing him to grimace in pain. Sun Qianqian changed her clothes and took a towel to cover her chest. She said with a gloomy face, "Of course we can't just let it go like this. However, this kid is much more difficult to deal with than we thought. We need to think of some ways." "Second miss, it's actually easy. Although this guy is a martial artist, no matter how powerful he is, can he be more powerful than a gun? I'll bring a few brothers with me now and take a gun. When the time comes, we'll teach him a lesson." China's gun control was very strict. Only a small number of people had guns. The Sun family was obviously part of this small number of people. However, they rarely used them, and would only take them out under special circumstances. Sun Qianqian hesitated for a moment, and looked at her deformed chest. She thought of Qin Haodong's 24-hour warning, and finally made a decision. "Well, you take some people there now. You must be careful and fast. No matter what, you must get that bottle of red pills back for me. Don't worry, Mississippi. I will definitely make that kid kneel in front of you, and give you the pills with both hands." Sun Wei had been beaten up like this, so he hated Qin Haodong to the bone. After getting Sun Qianqian's consent, he immediately gathered people and took guns to find Qin Haodong for revenge. After Qin Haodong taught Sun Qianqian a lesson, he went to the crime squad of the East City District. He found the captain's office and pushed the door open. Nailin Wuxia was sitting at her desk busy with something. When she saw someone come in without knocking, she frowned slightly. When she looked up and saw Qin Haodong, she immediately cried out in surprise. "Why is it you? Why can't it be me?" Qin Haodong said as he walked in front of her. "It's been so many days, and you haven't come to see me. Why are you here today? Did you find your conscience?" "My conscience has always been there." Qin Haodong took her hand and said with a smile, "I'm here today to see a beauty, and I'm here to take shelter. I made a mistake again. I apologize to everyone. The mistake has been corrected. I'll add a chapter today as compensation." Chapter 511. Why did you come here to avoid trouble? Nailin Wuxia glared at him and asked, "Did you mess with other girls again and come to me?" Qin Haodong said with a wronged expression, "Am I that kind of person?" Nailin Wuxia said without hesitation, "Yes. Qin Haodong was about to retort, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that he had really provoked Sun Qianqian, the evil woman, and then came here. "Well, you're right. I'm here because I've provoked a woman." Nailin Wuxia said discontentedly, You already have so many women, but you still go out and provoke." Qin Haodong quickly explained, "Don't worry, this provocation is different from what you think." He took Nailin Wuxia's hand and sat down. Then he talked about how he had gone to Shanghai to treat Zhou Xinju, and how he had just taught Sun Qianqian's men a lesson. In the end, Nailin Wuxia was already convulsing with laughter. "You're too mean. My good chest has been ruined by you." She couldn't help but laugh again when she thought of the woman named Sun Qianqian. Qin Haodong said, "She took the medicine and took it herself. How can you blame me if something happens to her?" Nailin Wuxia laughed enough and said, "Is the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir really so magical? Eating it can make a woman grow up?" "Of course, how could the pills I refined be fake?" Nailin Wuxia pinched the soft part of his waist. Meat said fiercely, "How come I didn't know you had such a good thing? Let go, it hurts." Qin Haodong said quickly, "This thing is effective, but not everyone can use it." Nailin Wuxia let go of him and said, "Why? Does your elixir need to be picky?" "Medicinal pills are not picky, but your figure is already so good, it's simply perfect. If it were any bigger, not only would it be out of proportion, but it would also affect your temperament. You wouldn't look as pretty as you do now." Every woman liked to listen to compliments, especially when it came from their lover. Nailin Wuxia glanced at her towering chest and said happily, "Are you serious? You couldn't have lied to me because you couldn't bear to part with the medicinal pills, right?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course it's true. I don't have anything else, but I have plenty of elixirs. If you want, you can eat them as food. You can even eat like a cow. But don't blame me if you're too ugly. You're so annoying. You're the cow." Nailin Wuxia glared at him charmingly and gave up the idea of taking the breast enhancement and body shaping elixir. She said again, "What do you want to do? I really won't give the pill to Sun Qianqian. If a woman becomes like that, it's really sad. How can I face others?" Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. She will definitely give me that building in the end. I've asked around, and the value of that building is about 500 million yuan. These 3 bottles of breast enhancement and body shaping elixir are priceless treasures, and she has gotten a great bargain." "Forget it, let's not talk about that." Nailin Wuxia took Qin Haodong's arm and said, "Tell me, what is our relationship? Am I your woman or not?" Qin Haodong sighed. Nailin Wuxia was deeply in love with him. She came to Shanghai for him. How could he refuse? "Of course, as long as you're not afraid of being wronged. You have a conscience." Nailin Wuxia put her arms around his neck and kissed him gently on the lips. Then she said faintly, "I don't know what I did in my previous life to fall in love with a man like you in this life." Qin Haodong said, "It's not that you did bad things. It's that I've done too many good things. That's why God gave me such a good woman like you. The two of them were kissing in the office. Outside the crime squad, Sun Wei, who looked like Sakyamuni, was running around anxiously. Now that it was confirmed that Qin Haodong had entered the crime squad, he was helpless. He couldn't rush into the crime squad with a gun and kidnap Qin Haodong, could he? Even the Sun family couldn't afford the consequences. At that time, the old man of the Sun family would cut off his head and kick it like a ball. Now the only thing he could do was wait outside, wait for Qin Haodong to come out, and then make a move. However, after waiting for 2 hours, there was still no movement. Bastard, what the hell is this kid doing inside? Sun Wei cursed in annoyance. At this time, the cell phone in his pocket rang. How is it? Did you catch him? Sun Qianqian's anxious voice came from the other side of the phone. Sun Wei could wait, but she couldn't. No one could remain calm when looking at their deformed breasts all the time. Moreover, Qin Haodong's warning was constantly ringing in her ears. Once it exceeded 24 hours, it would be incurable. If she had such a chest for the rest of her life, she really wouldn't be able to live. Not yet. As soon as Sun Wei said these 3 words, Sun Qianqian, who was on the other side, flew into a rage and scolded. Are you King useless? You brought so many people and so many guns, but you can't even catch a single person. What are you doing? Sun Wei said with a bitter face. Second miss. That kid ran into the crime squad and hasn't come out yet. I can't do anything about it. I can't rush into the crime squad to catch him. Sun Qianqian didn't say anything. She really had no solution to this situation. Sun Wei breathed a sigh of relief and said, Second miss, I suspect that this kid did it on purpose. Do you still need to suspect it? It's obvious that he did it on purpose. He's just stalling for time. Sun Qianqian vented the anger in her heart again. After hanging up the phone, she knew that this was useless. She had to find a way to get the pill as soon as possible. After hesitating for a moment, she dialed Qin Haodong's cell phone again. Qin Haodong was being intimate with Nalan Wuxia. When he heard the ringtone of his cell phone, he frowned with dissatisfaction, but he still pressed the answer button. Miss Sun, have you thought about it? You don't have much time left. Qin Haodong, find a place. I'll sign an agreement with you. Sun Qianqian was going to use the same trick again and ask Qin Haodong to come out from the crime squad. As long as there was no police protection, Sun Wei would be able to make a move. Miss Sun, I'm sorry. There's only one chance. You've already missed it. I don't want to sign any agreement with you now. Sun Qianqian was shocked and quickly asked, What do you want? You don't want that building anymore? Of course I want the building, but I don't have time to sign any bullshit agreement with you. Qin Haodong said, Send the transfer procedures for that building to me before you get off work, and then I'll give you the medicine. Remember, don't lie to me with a fake one. I can find it. You. Sun Qianqian didn't expect Qin Haodong to directly ask her for the property certificate, which made all the methods she had thought of useless. Qin Haodong continued, Miss Sun, I advise you to hurry up. It's not a small matter to get the property certificate. If you go now, it'll be good if you can get it done before you get off work. Once you miss it, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Sun Qianqian still didn't want to give up. She said, But the transfer of the property requires both parties to be present. What can I do if you don't come? Qin Haodong said with a smile. Others can't, but your Sun family can. If you really can't do it, there's nothing I can do. Seeing that Qin Haodong wouldn't be fooled no matter what, Sun Qianqian roared crazily. Qin Haodong, don't go too far. I'm the second miss of the Sun family. Please, big sister. Even if you want to threaten me, you have to change it to something new, okay? Let's put it this way. When you get the property certificate, call me and I'll give you the medicine. Also, I'm informing you that I won't go out before the crime squad gets off work. Don't have any bad ideas. After that, he hung up the phone. Nalan Wuxia reached out and pinched his cheek. She said with a smile, You're really bad. You're threatening me like this. Qin Haodong said, This is called giving her a taste of her own medicine. She wants to steal my medicine, so I'll steal her building. Evil people need to be tortured by evil people. After hanging up the phone, Sun Qianqian grabbed the red wine bottle in front of her and smashed it on the ground. After venting her anger crazily, she found that there was no other way but to agree to Qin Haodong's request. She picked up her cell phone and dialed Sun Wei's number. "Don't stay there. Come back quickly." Sun Wei was very fast. 10 minutes later, he returned to Sun Qianqian's room. "Second miss, what do you need me to do?" Sun Qianqian took out a stack of property certificates and said, "Go to the real estate company now and transfer the property rights of that house to Qin Haodong's name." Sun Wei said in surprise, "Second miss, are you really going to give it to that guy? How can that be?" Before he could finish speaking, the furious Sun Qianqian roared again. "Do you think I don't know whether it can be done or not? Don't talk nonsense. Just do it when I tell you to." She slammed the property certificate in her hand on Sun Wei's Sakyamuni head. "Hurry up. If you can't get the property certificate by the end of the day, I'll cut off your head. Go. I'll go right now." Sun Wei picked up the property certificate and ran out of the room in a panic. It was no wonder that Sun Qianqian was anxious. Time passed by. What she needed to do now was to get the red breast enhancement and body shaping elixir as soon as possible. She could only transfer the property to Qin Haodong first. Other things could be discussed later. Qin Haodong and Nalan Wuxia happily stayed together. They had lunch together at noon. When it was almost time to get off work, his cell phone rang. "Qin Haodong, the property certificate has been completed. I'll ask Sun Wei to send it to the crime squad now. Don't go back on your word." On the other side of the phone, Sun Qianqian said in a hoarse voice, "Don't worry. I always keep my word. I'll give you the medicine immediately after I get the property certificate." Qin Haodong hung up the phone and asked Ma Wenjue to send someone to check the property registration information to make sure that the house was under his name. Not long after, Sun Wei appeared in front of the crime squad. Qin Haodong took the property certificate and checked it. There was no problem. He threw the small jade bottle in his hand to him and said with a smile, "This head shape is not bad. It suits you." Sun Wei took the small jade bottle and glared at Qin Haodong. Then, he hurriedly got into the car and sent the medicine to Sun Qianqian. Nalan Wuxiao appeared next to Qin Haodong and said, "Although you got the house, I'm afraid the Sun family won't let it go." Qin Haodong put away the property certificate and said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. The house is in my hands. It doesn't matter what they do." In the Sun family, Sun Wei rushed into Sun Qianqian's room. "Second miss, I've brought the medicine. Where is it? Give it to me quickly." Sun Qianqian couldn't wait to take the small jade bottle. She opened the cork and saw 3 red breast enhancement and body shaping pills inside. Sun Wei said, "Second miss, do you think that guy will lie to us with fake medicine?" Sun Qianqian stared at him and said, "What should we do? Why don't you try one first?" Sun Wei was so scared that his whole body trembled. He shuddered at the thought of putting Sun Qianqian's deformed chest on his body. He quickly said, "Second miss, I was just saying casually. I don't think that guy has any reason to lie to us. Since he got the house, he will definitely give us the real medicine. I apologize for the mistake in the previous chapter. The main website of Zongheng has been modified, but the data on the channel website may not be accurate. You can go to Zongheng to have a look." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.